It's time for Intelligent Machines. Our guest, Stephen Witt, wrote the book about Nvidia and Jensen Huang. It's called The Thinking Machine. We will talk to Stephen in just a little bit, plus all the AI news next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Intelligent Machines, episode 823, recorded Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Intelligent with two G's. It's time for Intelligent Machines, the show where we cover the latest in AI, robotics, and all the smart doohickeys all around you. Paris Martineau is here. Great to see you, Paris.
Great to be here.
Yeah, I like that. Is that your new signature with the fingers like that?
It is actually an old signature. I used to be a classic this sort of
Did you
pointer.
really?
Yeah.
Was it
I was a finger. Maybe
ironic
it started ironic.
pointing.
It became earnest at a certain
dear.
point where it all blurred. And then I had to stop myself for a period. But perhaps I'm bringing it back.
I like it. Good to see you. And welcome back. Speaking of bringing it back, Mr. Jeff Jarvis.
Hey.
Authors of Where's Your Books?
Because here's the thing. I'm doing the bibliography for the current book. I don't know if you can see over there.
Whoa.
That entire shelf is filled with, that's
Like
the
you got a
bibliography for the hot type book.
Wow.
So
Do you have like a library van pull up out front every morning and deliver books?
Kind of like a milkman.
Here's your book. Good to see you. Welcome back. Did you have a nice trip?
Yes, I did.
All right.
40 miles away to Montclair, New Jersey, but that was fun.
Okay. Oh, you were teaching.
Well, I was learning.
Jeff is a professor professor emeritus of journalistic innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
What? It's back?
It's back.
Why not?
Wow.
It had a
See, guys?
sabbatical like every professor, and now
This
it's
is why you
back.
review the show, people, because you can affect real change in the world.
Yes, I had to listen to all those 5-star reviews that said bring back the jingle. Jeff is currently at Mount Montclair State University in New Jersey, and SUNY, the State University of New York, at Stony Brook, and is the author of the Gutenberg Parenthesis, The Web We Weave, and Magazine. And we thank you for coming home.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
I think you brought Stephen Witt to us. Stephen is a Los Angeles-based writer, television producer, and investigative journalist. His latest book, The Thinking Machine, just came out. It's all about Jensen Huang and Nvidia. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you for having me.
I like your view.
Yeah, it's really nice here.
Wow, that's great.
Beautiful view. There's a story behind it. We'll get into it later.
Oh, okay. Is it? It's not
AI.
fake. That's the story. It's real. That's
No, it's
unusual.
real. Okay,
Yeah.
so we saw Jeff's bibliography, right? There, all the books that he's reading for the book he wrote. The bibliography for my book was extensive as well. 50 or 60 volumes. And then 7 days after I turned in the manuscript for this book, my home in Altadena burned down in the evening.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Including all my bibliography. So I don't own any books anymore. Except for a few digital ones.
Well, you're free at last. Think of it that way.
Totally
Stephen.
free. It's
You don't have to
liberating.
schlep those around anymore.
This is a new place with a nice view, and I'm lucky to have it. But I do miss my home.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, our friend Kevin Rose lost his house in the Heights as well. And
David Remnick of the New Yorker called me while I was driving around the burned out kind of like landscape. It looked like a nuclear bomb had gone off in my neighborhood, and 10,000 structures burned down. And I was like, yeah, I think my home is gone. And he's like, you're the third New Yorker writer I've talked to today who lost their home in Canyon Fire. Isn't that crazy?
I am so sorry.
That community was full of journalists, creative types, editors, producers. So I know quite a lot of people.
I have to go back in your bibliography. I've got to read How Music Got Free, which is the story of the MP3 and Napster and piracy and all of that. Wow, I really want to read that. I wish we'd interviewed you then, but the new one is a little more topical.
Yeah, for sure.
You couldn't get more topical than Nvidia. Did Jensen Huang cooperate for this?
At first, yeah.
Until he found out you were writing a hit piece? What?
I did write a hit piece. I like Jensen. He's really a smart guy. But Jensen has a terrible temper. as I've heard a great number of times, that he sometimes explodes in anger at people.
Oh, dear.
And so this was kind of a theme that has followed Jensen for a long, long time. And everybody I talked to, but it's like, yeah, Jensen will occasionally just like explode at people, right? But I didn't think it would happen to me, because I don't work for Jensen. But in one of our last interviews, I just kept pushing him about kind of the risk that AI poses to our species and the future of humanity. And I probably asked this question in different forms 4 or 5 times. And I think he just thought I was wasting his time.
He didn't want to talk about it.
He just erupted at me.
What is a Jensen Huang eruption sound?
It's a dressing down. It's humiliating. He questions your professionalism. He questions your ability. He questions why he's even talking to you. Why am I even participating in this if you're just going to waste my time in this way? It's loud. There's yelling involved.
I'm so sorry. That sucks.
And it's kind of like it doesn't stop. There's no, once he blows his stack, you really have to let him completely like shoot steam out of his ears for 10 to 15 minutes of just penetrating question. Like, why would you ask me that question? We gave you access inside our company. What kind of crappy book are you writing? Like, why are these questions so dumb? These are pedestrian questions. I expected more from you. I'm really disappointed in you as a journalist to be asking these questions. So this went on for 20 minutes. And I'm giving away the end of the book, by the way. And his PR people are there, and they're just frozen.
Yeah.
Wait. How do they react? Do they unfreeze and try to corral the situation in any way, or are they just?
So 9 out of 10 CEOs, yeah, that's what would happen. 99 out of 100 CEOs, right? But Jensen has trained his people not to interfere.
They're just as scared of him as you were.
They've got frozen smiles on their faces, and they're watching him. I interviewed a former chief scientist at Nvidia about this, and I was like, did Jensen ever yell at you? And he was like, well, the only time Jensen ever yelled at me is when he was yelling at one of my staff members, and he's just torturing this guy in front of like 30 people. And I felt like I had to step in. But that's like standing up in the trench and waving your arms at the machine gun. The machine gun doesn't stop shooting. It just turns and starts shooting at you. And so, like, nobody wants to draw fire. And Jensen has created an environment and a world for himself where he can engage in what I would consider these almost like self-indulgent kind of like.
Are people loyal to him? I mean, how does that work? Is it out of fear? Is it out of success?
It's classic cult leader tactics where everyone I talked to at NVIDIA had a story where Jensen, they just felt so loved by him.
He feels in his keynotes very affable, very
so
warm,
charismatic,
very genuine.
He's so funny. And this dark aspect of him does not appear in public. He's careful about when he turns it on. He only turns it on, though, when there's an audience at his job. So he'll never just grab somebody and start screaming at them in the hall.
Oh, interesting.
He waits till there's 30 or 40 people around.
It's a humiliation thing. Yeah.
You know what? When I hear that, I think that's what his father did to him. I think it's something from his childhood. He didn't want to talk about that, did he?
He did not tell me much about that, but I will tell you my impression is his father wouldn't do this.
Oh, okay.
Maybe his mother would do something.
Somebody did.
Where do you think this comes from? Yeah. I mean, obviously that's total speculation.
I talked to his friend, his old friend, Jens Horstman. I was like, did Jensen always do this? And he was like, well, I worked with Jensen in his 20s and he was not known for doing this. And I saw
interesting.
Him today. It really started when he became the CEO. So whether this was some kind of like power trip, Jensen defends what he's doing. He's saying, well, I'm making a demonstration, an example of people because they failed in some way, and I can't just dress them down. The whole company has to see it. Everyone
it's the
has
Stephen
to see.
Jobs technique.
Kind of. Yeah. So failure must be shared is one of his mottos.
Wow.
One time
what about success?
Success is shared at NVIDIA. And this is, you asked why people are loyal to him. If you've been hanging out with Jensen for 10 or 15 years, you have several $100 million now.
There's that.
So your belief in this guy and his ability has paid off massively. If you could put up with the kind of abuse, like you have been compensated beyond your wildest dreams.
Do people in NVIDIA feel like they're changing the world? They're making a huge
Yeah, and they are. Right. Every company says, innovators who change the world. But, this company really did.
These days, yes. Right. Yeah. This is the way AI companies train their models. They buy as many GPUs as they possibly can from NVIDIA.
Yeah, so the limiting factor, actually, in how fast AI can go is these microchips.
Yeah.
They can't make them fast enough.
They can't make them fast enough, and they sell them for $30,000 a piece. This has made Nvidia the single most valuable company in the world,
Right.
Or they're right up there with Apple and Microsoft.
Yeah.
I think actually today they are the most valuable company in the world. And why is that? Well, if you look for demand for something like ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT has eclipsed Wikipedia in terms of number of daily users. And users are coming to it with increasingly complicated requests. Executing those requests requires like quadrillions of what they call flops, individual arithmetic operations. Okay, so to execute a quadrillion flops for every user in the world multiple times a day, you have to build a giant supercomputer, a mega computer. The one they're building in Texas costs $50 billion. So that makes it more expensive than China's Three Gorges Dam and about 10 times as much as the James Webb Space Telescope. That's how much this thing costs.
Is that the Grok, the XAI one?
That's a different one. And everyone's building them. So this is the thing. There's like 40 of these coming online. Okay. And you look at that $50 billion, like where does it go? Well, it goes to electric power and water and land and construction. But the single largest cost is Nvidia microchips. So all of that
Meta
money
bought of this H100, this $30,000 chip. They bought 350,000.
Yeah, and that's probably 30 grand each. So I think if you do the math, you'll get to
A lot.
like it's a $10 billion order, if not more.
Yeah.
And it all just goes right into Nvidia's pocket, and they earn like a 75% gross margin on these chips. So they earn more basically income per employee than any company on earth.
Nvidia
I think
started
actually Craigslist used to have one of the highest because there were so few employees.
Yeah, that might still be true actually, but they're up there. Nvidia for major publicly traded corporations, it might be number one. Yeah,
I think Elon bought 150,000. I don't know what these new plans in Saudi Arabia involve, but they're building network operations centers bigger than the entire country of Monaco.
Yeah, no, it's 5 square miles of computing equipment at a rumored cost of, well, I don't know what the cost is, but it's going to be 5 gigawatts of energy power.
Unbelievable.
Electric power required to power it. So in context, 1 gigawatt of electricity is about enough to power Kansas City. So
I believe that's pronounced gigawatt. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. So let's go back in time, though, because this company was originally made GPUs for gaming. That's how they started, right?
Yeah. So this sounds like they were making toys, right?
Yeah.
And this is why nobody took them seriously. But the insider's perspective is computer graphics are actually one of the very hardest things you can ask a computer to do. You're kind of tracing these 3D skeletons in real time and then painting them with textures. And it's just enormously computationally intensive. The amount of arithmetic you have to do, I can't remember the exact figures, I put it in the book, but to do 1 second of rendering, if you did it with pencil and paper, would take a human being something like 800 million years.
Wow.
And that's if you work 24 hours a day and never made a mistake. So that's kind of what has to get compressed each second of rendering a 3D game. So it's very computationally intensive and it has to go super fast. And then the thing that really makes it special is that demand is infinite. No matter how well you render the game, there's a certain kind of video game customer who's going to come back and say, I want it better. This is still going on. There's a certain kind of customer who will spend $3,000 to $4,000 on a GPU, build their entire gaming computer around it like it's some kind of hot rod car, just so they can render the pixels in the game a little faster than their competitors.
I've got an expensive NVIDIA card in my gaming rig. I mean,
there you go.
That's how you had to do it. I mean, I go back even prior to that to, other companies, but NVIDIA became the champion. There's AMD's Radeon and stuff, but NVIDIA really became the premier gaming coprocessor.
Bit of history here. When it started, there were 70 competitors in the mid 90s. And Jensen kind of intuited, or not intuited, but I would say logically reasoned that within 5 or 10 years, there would only be a couple companies left, probably just one, right?
Yeah.
And he was determined to be that one.
Yeah.
So he was absolutely ruthless. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Battle Royale, where the Japanese teenagers are stranded on an island and have to fight to the death. But basically, it was that. in the GPU space. They all had to just fight to the death.
The big guy was 3DFX.
Right. And so
Right.
what Jensen did, he absolutely outcompeted and destroyed 3DFX.
Yeah, they're gone.
And along with his team, he would make lists of everybody who worked at 3DFX, everybody who worked at all his competitors. He put them on a whiteboard. And then they would strategize on how to poach these people away from 3DFX. They called it brain extraction. And so once they got that guy, the 2 or 3 chief engineers, to defect to Nvidia, and they were very successful at doing this, the company folded because it no longer had a brain. That was the end.
Drain.
So they conquered the 3D graphic space by maybe early 2000s, and they had their technology in the Xbox as well. And what started to happen is that scientists look at the intense computational density of these chips, what they were able to do for 3D graphics. And the scientists said, God, I'd love to get into that architecture myself so I could run my super complicated quantum physics calculation, or my super complicated tomography, which is basically MRIs. I'm going to reconstruct MRIs to higher fidelity using these chips. And they started actually hacking the chips, jerry-rigging them to do these other functions. And Jensen saw this and he said, wow, this is like a whole untapped market.
So he didn't see that before. He didn't have a grand vision before that said this is the most powerful computing chip. Once it was demonstrated to him, that's when it started opening up to him?
He was too busy winning the knife fight. So, he was too busy trying to survive the battle royale to focus on anything except being the dominant player in graphics. But they started to approach him. And there was actually a very famous Stanford computer scientist, Bill Dawley, who wrote a paper talking about the arithmetic intensity or the arithmetic density of these chips. And this had not, Jensen had not been deliberately building tools for scientists. But when the scientists saw it, they were like, God, we got to use this. And when Jensen heard that, he went to Stanford and met Dawley and was like, oh my God, I have to serve the scientific community with these cards. And so at great expense, he built this massive platform that would flip the switch on the graphics accelerator and turn it into a scientific high-performance computing platform for quantum physics, for breast cancer.
What was that called?
It was called CUDA.
That's CUDA. That's CUDA.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about CUDA, yeah.
That's CUDA, okay.
So this is called CUDA, was the name of this platform, described as the switch on the graphics card that you flick and it turns it into a low-budget supercomputer. Now, Wall Street hated this.
Hated it, yeah.
Why?
It.
Scientists don't have money.
They don't have money.
Oh, that's not the market you want.
Scientists have a $10,000 research grant, maybe. Right? Like if they're lucky, and they won't necessarily show up with it next year, so they're not even necessarily repeat customers. And it was extraordinarily expensive to develop. So basically, Nvidia was spending something like $1 billion a year on R&D, and then receiving a return less than $1 billion in revenue from this market.
Did he understand the business potential then, or only the yes? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's why he did it, right? He's a businessman. He's trying to make the stock price go up. But his reasoning was, I have to do this. He reasoned that because of Clayton Christensen's model of disruption.
The innovator's dilemma.
Innovator's dilemma, yeah, which he actually assigned to all of his executives. And Christensen worked as a consultant at Nvidia for a while.
Interesting.
Basically, his thinking was, if I don't do this, someone else is going to jerry-rig this and turn it into their own platform and erode our profits away from the bottom. And Christensen had this incredible quote in his book where he said something, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, sometimes it is right to ignore your customers and to ignore your investors and to invest in low margin, small market products that nobody seems to want. And that's what this was. It was the disruptors play. It was the and investors, they talk about disruption. They actually hate it when you do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want you to keep making money the way you.
They want you to earn profit margins, and
McKinsey will come in and kill everybody who does that.
You're lowering your margins on a product that does not, in the even intermediate term, promise to return cash flow to your company.
One of the interesting things about
opposite of the way that a classic MBA or McKinsey type would run the company.
Right. Thank goodness.
So the stock price actually went in the toilet.
Oh, interesting.
For 10 years. while they did this. They did not break through for a long time. And in fact, Jensen nearly lost his job because an activist investor came in and started writing,
Schmuck.
Oh, these morons.
letters to the board that were not very friendly. I actually like activist investors.
Yeah.
I think they play an important role in the capitalist ecosystem. And the guy who did this has actually a very good track record. He famously turned around Olive Garden. His name is Jeffrey Smith.
How's
And he
Olive
had
Garden doing these days?
He's just
great, but
three
there was-
breadsticks in a trench coat.
Okay, so they have a whole breadstick strategy at Olive Garden.
Oh, I bet they do.
So the idea at Olive Garden, here's what you do. Okay. You go to the table and you always give the same number of breadsticks as there are people at the table plus one.
Plus one.
Why?
Let them fight over that last one.
Because people are either A, very polite and they're not going to take the last breadstick, right? If they eat all the breadsticks, they'll just ask for more. But if there's one left, it's actually hard to be the guy who goes and breaks up the last breadstick. Or if you're not with people like that and they just start consuming all the breadsticks and want more, it's more opportunities for the server to come and talk to the customers and maybe upsell them on more pasta. So it was this whole thing.
Wow.
But Olive Garden actually gotten away from this, and they were just dumping breadsticks on the table, and it was hurting. The servers didn't want to keep going back to the table, so they would just put like 30 breadsticks out there. So
Have all the breadsticks.
Yeah, but that actually destroys the whole concept of the free breadstick. Okay. Anyways, this is Jeff Smith. Thank you. Very smart, actually. He understands
that
the
rabbit hole.
operational details of this
beautiful.
company quite well, but he completely misanalyzed Nvidia.
Wait, so how do we
Sometimes
get
happens.
from CUDA being something that potentially could tank the stock of this company because they're spending so much money in it to it being this kind of cornerstone to Nvidia's big pivot?
Right. So who is CUDA for? Well, it's not for leading research scientists because they can afford time on the massive supercomputers, right? It's for scientists whose research is a little bit out of favor. It's for scientists who want to do things that can't really get funded. It's for mad scientists.
And young
It's for mad
scientists.
scientists. That's who it's for. I mean, it's for scientists who have kind of wacky theories.
It ended up being their secret sauce. I don't know if it was the processors. It was really CUDA because it was proprietary.
Yeah.
And as things became written for CUDA, you had to have an NVIDIA chip.
That's right. So these mad scientists, maybe the maddest scientists, were this research group in Toronto. So this will be hard to even remember or understand for, I think, younger viewers, but there was a time where AI was a career graveyard. I mean, if you went into AI in the first decade of this century, it was kiss your career away. You're going to be working in academia the rest of your life, and you're going to struggle to get a $5,000 research grant. Within AI, there was even a worse backwater called neural networks. So nobody, even in AI, liked neural networks, and almost nobody thought that they were work. They were viewed as a dead technology. Absolutely mad science, just mad science. Jeffrey Hinton and his group in Toronto acquired 2 GPUs. That was what they could afford, each of which cost about $500. And then they jerry-rigged a low-budget supercomputer in Alex Krzyzewski's childhood bedroom at his parents' house. And they took one of these dysfunctional neural nets that nobody liked, not even within the AI community, and they trained it in this kid's bedroom, basically. And at the end of a week, because of NVIDIA's CUDA platform and their hardware, they had produced what was by far the leading AI in the world.
In a week.
Was this ImageNet?
In 1 week. This was ImageNet.
Wow.
AlexNet. Sorry, AlexNet it's called. But ImageNet was the competition that AlexNet won.
Okay.
ImageNet was
I
run.
interviewed ImageNet in Toronto back in the day in Fei
You
Li.
might have interviewed Fei Li.
Yeah, I did.
Fei described this moment as it was as if the world land speed record had been broken by 100 miles an hour by someone driving a Honda Civic.
Love
So
it.
this was the paradigm shift, as I say in the book. And the way to think about this is it's almost like the Wright brothers, right? We're 2 bicycle mechanics jerry-rig an airplane, right? And if you want to know what Jensen's role about that, it's kind of like he was building engines with propellers attached for 10 years, just waiting for someone to come along and find a use for this propeller.
Put wings on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Jeff, this is Ilya Sutskever as well. Is in this.
Ilya was the third member.
Yes.
So Ilya, who is now obviously was one of the leading programmers behind ChatGPT and now is at Safe Superintelligence, is like omnipresent. He's everywhere. He's ubiquitous. He's ubiquitous in AI, and he was literally there at the creation,
Including at University of Toronto this last week.
Yeah, this is like it would be like witnessing the AI version of like witnessing the Trinity test, basically.
Yeah.
To be there with this AI. So that percolated very rapidly. Those results.
How did Jensen find out about that?
Dolly brought it to him.
Okay.
So in 2013, if you watch Jensen's GTC presentation, he is in leather already. That transition is starting.
Famous leather jacket.
But
How many jackets does he own?
Not quite. And he would actually, that one was not, it was, so brief side note on Jensen's wardrobe, because I know everybody wants to know. Jensen's not like Steve Jobs, by which I mean he does not have one signature outfit that he wears every day. He's not an artist in that way. He doesn't have like an artistic vision. He's an engineer. And so what he does is he A/B tests different items in his wardrobe, right? So he takes in a piece, he sees if it goes, and then you watch this, and he's like actually constantly making subtle alterations to his wardrobe until he nails it. In 2013, he absolutely had not nailed it. He was.
I thought his last one, the sleeves were too long for him, but that's
he was experimenting with snake skin. That's kind of new. I don't think it looked a little too. We'll see.
I agree. Anyway, sorry.
So but he experiments.
Right.
So this one, he's wearing a motorcycle Jackson. Anyway, long detour. 2013, he does not mention AI one time. And Nvidia puts out a list of what CUDA is good for, and it's all these scientific applications. AI is not listed. 2014, he goes out and he only talks about AI. And somewhere between that 2013 and 2014 GTC, someone at his company was like, you got to look, I think it was Brian Catanzaro. I talk about this in the book. He said, you got to look at these AI results. You got to see what's happening here because I think it's big. And Jensen looks at it and he gets it instantly. And he bets the whole company-wide email over a weekend saying, we are no longer a graphics card company.
Wow.
We are now an AI company, and we are going to put 100% of the resources in this company into AI that we can, or every resource we can. And he goes to Brian Catanzaro, who at this time is like a low-level product manager. And he says, Brian, I want you to imagine I've marched all 8,000 employees of this company out into the parking lot. You are free to select any one of these employees to join your team, and you can have as many as you want. And this is like, so he just deputizes this guy to run his AI effort. And this is like a low-level researcher who had he had bad performance reviews at the company, but basically field promoted this guy into running his entire AI strategy. And, within a year, they were the dominant, essentially only AI hardware platform, and tailoring their chips to meet what they saw very early. And this is really Jensen's key insight that he saw before anybody, that to make these things more powerful, there would be, just as there was infinite demand for the graphics, better graphics, there was going to be infinite demand for AI. Infinite
Can I ask you a
demand
dumb question?
for more intelligence.
CUDA is so important, and as we'll discuss later, I as I said before we got on, I'm a connoisseur of Jensen's keynotes. And it always strikes me, he spends a good amount of time bragging about CUDA, giving you the sequence, giving you everything. In the importance of the company in his mind, everybody thinks it's a chip company, but it's also a platform and software company. Where does that balance in his mind and the company's mind in terms of the importance to its strategic value?
Yeah, well, it's all integrated, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the iPhone. What's more important than the iPhone, the hardware or the software? It's an integrated platform. It's a completely integrated platform. I will say they view their competitive advantage as being software.
Yeah.
So I talked to their lead chip designer, Arjun Prabhu, and he was like, honestly, AMD can design the silicon just as well as we can.
Yeah.
It's not a trade secret, right? I can peel the chip off this silicon and I can inspect it with a metallurgical microscope and tell you after a little while exactly what it's doing. So anything they put on as a physical object can be reverse engineered, right? So if they're going to have an advantage, it has to be at a layer above that. And where the real advantage is, They have a lot of like kind of low-level software. But the real advantage is actually that they go out and they embrace the scientific community. And they will look for the hardest computing problems in the world. And then they will lose money for years, sometimes forever, to build these scientists the tools that they need just so they know they're always on the bleeding edge. That's the secret of NVIDIA. And I think it's something other firms have a hard time replicating.
Yeah.
So it's not just gaming and AI. The other part of NVIDIA's business is chips for self-driving vehicles.
Yes.
And that's a big business for them too, isn't it?
And it's going to explode. Right now, their big business is selling data center chips. We call that the cloud computing.
Right.
What that means is I ask ChatGPT something, and it takes my request on a broadband pipe and ships it to a mega supercomputer in Texas, processes the answer, and ships it back to me. Okay, great. But there's a lot of applications where we can't wait that long. If we're in a car and we're driving, I cannot wait for the car to communicate with the data center in Texas. It has to move right away. This is called edge computing. And so not only do we need these chips in the cloud in Texas, increasingly as more items and things, especially robots and cars, become autonomous, we need edge computing chips that are directly in the car that don't need to, interact with the internet to provide an answer.
And this is the digital twin.
That's different.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. This is just edge. This is called edge computing.
Okay.
Right now, I don't think edge computing is a huge part of NVIDIA's business. It would be surprised if it was more than 5% of the revenue. But Jensen is putting all his resources there because Jensen's future world, where NVIDIA's next $3 trillion of market capitalization is going to come from, is they're going to ship robots and cars everywhere.
Right.
And factories.
And they're all going to be AI enabled, and we can't have any latency. If the robot's, let's say, cleaning our dishes, it can't just pause constantly and have to go back to Texas and get answers. And its brain has to be physically located in our house, right? Right now, the brain for ChatGPT, it's not on your laptop. It's in Texas. It's in some data center somewhere, right?
Right.
And every time you pump an answer, we ship it down to Texas for processing, and we ship it back to you. The edge computing platform, they can't wait, right? So robots and cars, they can't follow this paradigm. The brain has to be in the thing. And that's going to be a huge market in years to come.
I remember, and I don't remember what year it was, seeing a GTC where Jensen was still talking about gaming, talking about AI, talking about cars. And it struck me then, this company's going places. This company is firing on all three cylinders.
Yeah, they are, especially now. I mean, God.
This was a long time ago, but it's come out to be that way.
So I asked Jensen, what's the next CUDA? What's the thing you're investing tens of billions of dollars in that's losing tons of money and everyone's screaming at you about it that maybe 5 to 10 years from now might pay off? And this is Jeff's thing that he brought up, the digital twin. They call it Omniverse. And basically what it is it's a high fidelity physics simulator of the real world, of our universe, okay? So why do you want that? Why do you need that? Well, think about it this way. If we want a robot to wash our dishes in the sink, right? There's kind of two ways we can train its brain. One, we can physically have it train a bunch of dishes at the sink or wash a bunch of dishes at the sink. It will break 10 million dishes in the real world while we do this. It's incredibly expensive.
It'll learn.
Eventually, it'll learn via reinforcement learning, but it literally has to do tens of millions of training cycles. It'll be a huge mess. So what if we replicate the dishwashing environment, the sink, in code, right? In a high fidelity physics simulation, which via GPUs and graphics, NVIDIA already has some experience building these kind of worlds.
Right.
If we get the fidelity high enough, then we can train the robot to wash dishes. If we get, it's hard, right? Surface tension, certain dishes are fragile, certain are harder. Soap, it's slippery. It's just not an easy thing to do, right? But if we get all of that right, the surface tension, the physics, all of it, maybe we can train the robot to wash dishes in code in this kind of like digital gymnasium that we built. And then once it's done, we're going to download its brain into a real world body and deploy it to actually wash dishes in the edge.
But Stephen, kind of how AlphaZero was taught to play Go. It played 1 billion games against itself and then played a human.
This is in fact how almost a large number. It's called reinforcement learning.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually goes back to the very beginning of neural nets. There's a great anecdote in my book about the first person to really get it to work, who was trying to win a backgammon game in the 90s. And, he actually got a state-of-the-art backgammon thing, and he sold it via floppy disk off his website. His name is Frederick Dahl. It was inspired by the movie War Games, which is very funny.
Wow.
But side note, anyway, yeah. So this is how we train things.
So Stephen, there's two things about this. One, that again, coming from his keynotes, so that's the extent of my expertise in this, is that it's also the cars are going to gather data as they go, and that's part of how they teach. Is that? But what's really struck me about the digital twin is that my joke is that it's the Matrix, but we're not in it.
Yeah, precisely.
That it's every permutation and computation of possible futures.
That's right.
Are being computed, and it really struck me most in a factory warehouse setting.
Yeah. So you can also do like very advanced AutoCAD layout stuff once you have this environment up and running. So in addition to training, but mostly it's for training robots. Honestly, I mean, I think that's where, at least for now,
he really believes robots is the thing.
Oh yeah. No, he is.
He says it. Yeah.
He talks
saw
about
that little cute Disney robot he brought on stage.
If you see how much he talked about AI in 2014 and 2015, before it was like a big deal.
Right.
That's how much he talks about robots now.
Yeah.
I want to know a little more about Jensen Huang. What's his story? Where did he come from? He was an engineer.
He was an engineer. So Jensen was born in Taiwan, moved to Bangkok with his dad, who was also an engineer. When they were young, his dad worked in an oil refinery. But his dad was determined to move the family to the United States. And so Jensen was actually sent ahead of his family to the United States, arriving in, I think, 1973 in Oregon. And his uncle was taking care of him. His uncle thought that the boys should go to like a prestigious boarding school. Do
you want to wrap up? Are you running out of time? Because we are coming up on a half an hour. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's all we got.
Well,
one last thing you'd mentioned before the show that while we're on the topic of Jensen, that he doesn't like public speaking. Is that the case?
Yes. So the key to understanding Jensen, honestly, he might be the most neurotic person I have ever met in my life.
What? You're saying the guy who frequently yells at his employees and has trained them all?
This is the thing that will not be clear to you if you only, and it's really explored in my book. This is where I feel like I added a lot of insight. The guy who lectures at GTC is so polished. Mm-hmm. He is so charismatic. You'd think he was born to do this.
And says he doesn't rehearse, right? Says he doesn't.
Doesn't rehearse.
He really doesn't.
I was hanging out with Jensen in the green room before he had to go speak to a bunch of architects. Like, this is a meaningless presentation, 400 people. And he starts to rock back and forth on his feet. And he starts to get like visibly like agitated. Starts cracking all these jokes and talking really fast. And I was like, oh my God, he's nervous. He's got stage fright. He's nervous to go on here and give this meaningless lecture. And he turns to me and just goes, God, I hate public speaking.
Jeez.
You'd never know.
And it was
effing
true.
good at it.
Yeah.
You know why he's so good? He's terrified of bombing.
Yeah.
He's absolutely terrified that he's going to go out there and bomb. And so he does everything he can to avoid that happening. And he's constantly scanning the audience. This is why he doesn't use prepared remarks, to see if they're bored.
Wow.
And if they he'll completely change what he's talking about. Now that's not true at like GTC, for example, but on like if he's speaking extemporaneously, he's reading the room constantly and recalibrating. But Jensen is totally neurotic, by which I mean not that like in a clinical sense, he's just totally driven by negative emotions. So much of NVIDIA's success has come from Jensen being afraid, terrified that it is going to fail, and that he personally will feel shame when that happens. It's why they survived. It's how he survived the Battle Royale. It's why they're so big today.
It's like Intel. It's like Intel on steroids, right?
Yeah, Andy
paranoid
Grove
survive.
wrote the book. Only the paranoids survive.
And Jensen has read that book and absorbed it.
Yeah.
So Jensen's a voracious reader, but primarily of business books. His office he doesn't use it. His actual office is a conference room, but he has an office complex at NVIDIA headquarters, and it's just filled with stacks and stacks of business books. There's a famous anecdote about Jensen where he was arguing with one of his executives about how much something should cost. And the MBA has some kind of idea. And Jensen just breaks him off and he's like, what are your 3 favorite books on pricing? And the guy like sputters, and, he can't name any. And Jensen rattles off 3 books on pricing. He's like, go read those books. And then when you're done with those books, come back and we can resume this argument.
Wow.
Jesus. How does Stephen? I'm so respect how you're explaining all this because it's so complex. How did you train yourself in all this so that you could deal with the likes of Jensen Huang?
Jensen is not my first tough customer. I've done a lot of investigative reporting on CEOs. And many of I will say this about Jensen. It's true. He's brilliant. And I'm not a guy who walks around talking about how brilliant Silicon Valley guys are, but this guy is special.
He's not your typical billionaire. I got to say that.
Yeah, he doesn't have an MBA, he's engineering background. If he wasn't running this company, he'd be designing their chips.
He was a teenage ping pong star, you say?
Yeah. So not only that, but he basically did not play ping pong at all. Threw himself into it, and within about 4 months was nationally ranked.
Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
So his ability to rapidly absorb and implement new information, and this is like a sign of intelligence, is maybe the highest of anyone I've ever encountered in my life. It's just extraordinary how fast he can learn things. And I think here's if we don't have much time, I'll give you an anecdote that I'll close this with.
We have all the time you want. I just don't want to.
We're just trying to be cognizant of your time.
Yeah. Oh no, I can do this all day.
Okay. I saw the nurse came in to give you your shot, and I just didn't want to. Yeah, no, I'm just.
Yeah,
kidding.
we're like, he might be running out of juice.
Jensen was asked to throw out the first pitch in a baseball game. Okay. In Taiwan. And he gets up there, and I don't think he's probably thrown a baseball in 40 years, if ever. And he just kind of is visibly like grimacing. And he gets up there, I swear to God, he's like, listen, I'm about to throw it, like on the mic to a stadium full of people. He's like, listen, I'm about to throw the first pitch, but I'm really bad at pitching. So I ask you all to turn away and not watch me as I throw this pitch, please.
Brilliant.
And
that's so engaging.
And, it wasn't very good. The catcher had to kind of like scoot up to catch it, right? And so this is like a meaningless thing, right? But Jensen, for Jensen, this is an irresistible opportunity for self-improvement.
Yeah.
And so over the next 6 months, he gets his wife, Lori, they've been married for 42 years, to go in the backyard of his mansion every night after running the most valuable company in the world and throw the baseball around with him. They're both 60s. They're both in their 60s until he gets good at throwing a baseball. So the next time, and this like 6 months later, he's asked to throw another ceremonial pitch, and this time he nails it.
Of course. This is
who Jensen is. This is who Jensen is.
Yeah.
He's a guy who actually kind of lives in a mental torture chamber of his own devisement, who is constantly beating himself up for his perceived shortcomings, and then creating programs for self-improvement that will kind of recalibrate who he is to fit the needs of the moment.
Jesus.
The New York Times calls it a lively biography, fascinating. James Surowiecki in The Atlantic framed as a biography of Jensen Huang. The book is also something more interesting and revealing, a window into the intellectual, cultural, and economic ecosystem that has led to the emergence of super powerful AI. The book, The Thinking Machine, Jensen Huang, Nvidia, and the world's most coveted microchip. Stephen Witt, thank you for giving us your time today. I really appreciate it.
This is so great. Yeah.
Can't wait to read the book.
Much.
Yeah.
Are you saying what you're working on next, or are you one who doesn't say that?
Sure. Well, I'm trying to get this pitch hasn't been picked up yet, but I'll just say it as if it's going to be. I think I want to write about Stargate. So Stargate is kind of the next generation of this. This is OpenAI's mega. I mentioned this at the beginning. They're building these hyperscale computers that are just they're just going to be so big, it's almost unfathomable. So OpenAI Stargate investment program, alongside Oracle and a couple other companies, is scheduled to cost $500 billion, which is more than all 17 missions of the Apollo space program combined. Right? They're going to spend more on this than spend more on this than we spent going to the moon 6 times.
Yeah.
Okay. and it's just computing equipment, and basically all of it is going to Nvidia. But I want to.
This is in Saudi Arabia.
No, this is one in Texas. Saudi Arabia
is the Texas one.
Is even bigger, and there's like 30 or 40 of these coming online across the world to meet the perceived infinite demand for AI and smarter machines and smarter systems.
I think for Sam, it's not even the demand that's driving this. He wants to build a superintelligence.
Oh yeah. I mean, they would
read his essay this week, and it's just.
Well, we're going to talk about it. Yeah,
they're going to turn the moon into a supercomputer. I mean, they and the thing is, like, you got to think, well, there's got to be a more efficient way to do this. And like maybe theoretically there is, but practically this is at least the most straightforward way to do this right now. And I think that's the other
What's
thing.
unproven is throwing more compute at it will make it intelligent. That's just
I think that
clear.
is proven. So that has been the thing that has really turned the corner since 2017, 2018. It's called the bitter lesson.
Yes, we've talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the thing that you can guarantee is more computing power. The thing that will absolutely happen no matter what happens in AI software is you'll have more computing power available down the road.
Yeah.
So,
that may not get them where they think they're going to go. That's what even Sundar Pichai just said that.
Right. It might not. And in fact, we've had two big software breakthroughs in the past 15 years. First was neural networks on GPUs in 2012. And then it was the transformer architecture in 2017. And so maybe we need a third one. I think most research scientists do think we need a third.
Yeah, that's what Leon LeCun says. That's
Although, I don't think Ilya Sutskever thinks we need a third one necessarily.
No,
I don't think Sam Altman do, and they are building the cutting edge things. They're building.
That's what Rich Sutton said in The Bitter Lesson. He said, if we've learned anything, it's throwing more compute at it makes it smarter, not making it more complex, just throwing more compute at it.
So the way to think about this is the compute, it's not the brain of it, especially the training. It's more like the evolutionary conditions that led to the development of the brain. So if you think of your brain, it's quite compact and very good at what it does, and you think, it's only 3 pounds in this, $500 million computer. It's not analogous. But the brain is the product of 500 million years of evolutionary conditioning. It didn't just arrive. It's the inference engine for this 500 million years of evolution. And so maybe, or maybe even probably, this is what is going to happen with these computers, with these mega computers as well. They're not really the brain. They're more like the evolutionary environment that produces the intelligence. And if you can make that more sophisticated and more complex, the things that come out of the bottom, the intelligence engines that come out of the bottom of that are better and better.
Well, good luck with the next book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to bring you back for the last book, but that's another story.
Yeah, anytime. I'm always free. I mean, that's a history book now.
Whatever happened to Smith,
It is.
the investor? Did Smith make money in the end?
Smith flipped out of Nvidia in 2013 and then regretted it ever since.
Oh, kidding.
Hey, at least he wasn't shorting.
Yeah, he's trying to shake up. Is he in Intel? He's trying to shake up somebody else right now. I'm not sure he's in Intel. His investment returns are very good. Smith is very smart at what he does, and I know people hate this kind of guy, this kind of corporate raider guy, but there's so many companies out there that just don't do a good job.
Well. Yeah.
And squander investors' money. There's also so much passive money in the stock market via like ETFs and Vanguard and basically like index funds, that if you don't have someone who's going to agitate on behalf of shareholders for better returns, capitalism isn't going to work that well.
Right now, he's long on Pfizer. He wants
he's long Pfizer. He's got big on Pfizer. And Pfizer, despite having come up with several fantastic vaccines for COVID and also Paxlovid, has not performed well for shareholders lately. And so, what Smith looks for is when CEOs or companies are wasting money. And he tries to kind of reset them and put them on the right path.
If you like Stephen and you like his style, he reads his own book on Audible. That would be a good place to get a copy of it. I think Stephen would be great doing this.
Yeah. I
will
love doing these
say,
audiobooks.
multiple
This is actually,
people have already said in the Discord
they want to read it.
that they've already said they've purchased your book in the middle
nice.
of this interview. So
You should see a little tiny bump.
a little micro bump from the podcast. Well, listen, the audiobook is actually I write my books to be audiobooks.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I
agree.
love that.
When
agree.
you going back, have you ever read The Caine Mutiny by Herman Wouk?
Watch the movie. Never read the book.
Great, actually. Surprisingly so. And I was like, God, I'm flying through this book. Why is it so easy to read? And it turns out Wook had actually started scripting radio dramas in the 30s. I was like, oh, this is like a very
I'm going to have to read it. Yeah.
form of writing. If you link it to audio, people can't put it down. And as you read it aloud, you will see the parts where you, as the reader, get bored. So you just cut those parts out, and then you've got a script.
It's like Jensen Huang.
A natural story. So, in fact, I find this part of Jensen very relatable because I am totally paranoid of my audience being bored. I'm absolutely paranoid about it.
Well, all the reviews say it's a lively read. Actually, along these lines, I wasn't going to mention it, but the woman who basically created the audiobook industry passed away this week, Barbara Holdridge. She founded Cademan.
Oh.
You may remember, Jeff, you're old enough. I had this when I was a kid, the recording of Dylan Thomas reading A Child's Christmas in Wales.
Yep.
And this was sold 400,000 copies in the United States in the 50s. We had one. And I think I love audiobooks because I grew up listening to this. They went on and recorded T.S. Eliot and many other poets. She and her partner in this enterprise both passed away in the last year. She was 95, Barbara Holdridge. So audiobooks kind of began in 1950s.
Well, the original audiobook was actually the Odyssey, right? They read it out loud.
It was that's her point is books, literature was spoken aloud, from the very beginning.
Especially if you're trying to compete. So my perspective as a writer, to some extent I have competition obviously from other writers, but my big competition is Instagram, right? Like, why are you not going to put this book down and scroll your feed? You got to have a reason.
Smart point of view. That's a modern point of view, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I know it from my own life. Like, if a book doesn't grab me, I'm in posting, scrolling my doom scrolling. Yeah. So your competition is like, these algorithmic systems that are designed to hijack someone's attention span and direct it towards Mark Zuckerberg's bank account. Right? And so it's, I have to do that too, except direct it to my bank account. Makes sense.
Well, as we have learned from your book, you can start a company in Denny's and become the most valuable company in the world if you've just got a great idea. Thank you. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you again, I hope. The Thinking Machine, Jensen Huang, Nvidia, and the world's most coveted microchip, Stephen Witt.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We have AI news and more.
Lots.
This is Intelligent Machines with Jeff Jarvis and Paris Martineau. This episode brought to you by Agency. Let me spell that for you. AGNTCY. Building multi-agent software is hard. Agent to agent and agent to tool communication, still the Wild West. So how do you achieve accuracy and consistency in non-deterministic agentic apps? That's where the Agency, AGNTCY, comes in. The Agency is an open source collective building the Internet of Agents. And what's the Internet of Agents? It's a collaboration layer where AI agents can communicate, discover each other, and work across frameworks. For developers, this means standardized agent discovery tools, seamless protocols for inter-agent communication, and modular components to compose and scale multi-agent workflows. Build with other engineers who care about high-quality multi-agent software. Visit agency.org and add your support. That's AGNTCY.org. Thrilled, as always, to be able to promote an open source collective trying to create these standards. It's really important that they be open standards, and Agency's doing it. Thank you, Agency, for supporting intelligent machines. We're going to let Paris... Oh, she's back. Okay. Hello, Paris.
I know how to time my beverage
good.
breaks for the podcast.
You're good.
I saw you getting towards the end of the ad read and didn't put the carafe of water back in the fridge so I could hustle back over here.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're going to have warm water now, but I'm glad
I
that
will,
you got
but I
back
do
in
it
time.
in service for the podcast.
Thank you.
Did you get a cold tortilla while you were at it?
No, but I did buy more tortillas today, and it's always an
So
option.
I wanted to show you this because there was an interesting post on Reddit this week that I'll mention, but this is the list of companies that by the end of that last year that bought NVIDIA's $30,000 H100 GPU. Meta, by far, more than 3 times the next with $350,000. I think actually has gone up to 150,000, but they have 100,000 as the end of last year. Tesla only 35,000, Lambda 30,000, Google 26,000, Oracle 16,000 and down.
Tell me something, Leo. The difference between an NVIDIA chip and a Tensor chip. Does Google have its own stuff? It doesn't need as many?
It does, but I think the key is CUDA. I really, one of the real lessons of this, and it's something probably we should pay more attention to just in general in technology, is that software lock-in can trump everything else.
Yeah.
And because you have this software lock-in with CUDA, that's real. I think, I got the impression Stephen might have thought this too, that's the secret sauce.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
That's what keeps them
And when
on
you listen
top.
to Wang, as I do, that's what he spends time on.
Sure.
Yeah, he does look at our new chip, and isn't it cool, and isn't it wonderful? And he talks about huge server farms that are going to build on top of it. But then he really spends time on CUDA and its evolution and what it can do.
And the thing I don't like about it, it's fully proprietary. Mm-hmm. So,
it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's NVIDIA solely.
Yeah.
So what are
that's
the alternatives that are not NVIDIA?
Many people think that the Apple silicon chips, because they have so much RAM, one of the things that makes these NVIDIA GPUs expensive is the amount of memory they have in them. More memory means a more powerful AI. But Apple has this unified RAM architecture that you can buy, like my M4 over here, with 96 gigs of RAM. That would cost you probably $10,000 or $20,000 in NVIDIA. So Apple has a great platform, plus they have built-in neural processing units, but they don't have
What's
CUDA.
their software? They don't.
That's the problem. They don't have
What
CUDA.
about Google?
So this is
So they have Metal.
yeah.
Google has its own code. Go ahead, Benito.
Okay, so we use CUDA for rendering video, also rendering video in Premiere or rendering
faster.
video. You use CUDA for
Right.
it.
So we
and-
have
and
to
it-
buy NVIDIA cards.
No, but for Mac it's Metal. So like they do have their own thing, but I don't
Metal.
think it's
not as good.
it's not as picked up. Like people don't use
So
it.
you're using. I thought CUDA was kind of a really high level of the stack.
Well, it is. I mean,
But you're using it, Benito.
Yeah. We're using it for rendering. You use it for rendering a video.
Mm-hmm. There are projects. This is one on GitHub for CUDA to Metal. The idea being maybe you could take these CUDA instructions, these dedicated instructions, and translate them in a way that you could use this on Metal. Because look, there's a lot of pressure to do this because the Apple products are much cheaper than the NVIDIA products, and theoretically is capable if you had CUDA.
This is a
You
dumb
had
question.
CUDA.
Do people buy Apple chips for racks?
No, you have to buy the whole thing.
You do have to buy the whole
But you can turn them all into servers. They're not doing the NVIDIA play at all.
One thing Stephen
Should
didn't
they?
really mention though was like the role of NVIDIA in the whole Bitcoin thing. Because
I forgot to ask
that whole
him about
section
that.
of time
Wait,
was
so
all
you-
NVIDIA also.
I forgot that drove
Wait,
it.
in what way?
Oh, you had to have an NVIDIA card again because of
Yeah.
CUDA to do the Bitcoin.
All the Bitcoin
proof
miners
of work.
had to use NVIDIA video
had to
cards.
do-
That's what caused the video card shortages back then when all the gamers couldn't get video cards.
So
All
in a way,
right. I
what he's
forgot
done. I
that.
wish we had. I forgot to ask Stephen about this, but he's very smart, wisely leapfrogged from an industry as it was going up to the next thing, and that's what Jeff Smith was
Exactly,
pissed
yeah.
off about. But he leapfrogged to Bitcoin, and then leapfrogged to cars, and leapfrogged to AI. And at each moment, he's caught the wave
Yeah.
as it's beginning to take off.
Yeah.
And now robotics. So really his genius probably is in his business timing. He's very sharp that way. I don't think necessarily it's technology, believe it or not.
Were Nvidia chips what was powering the early wave of Bitcoin adoption and
All of
early
it.
Bitcoin boom, or was
Yeah,
this
yeah.
recent?
All of it.
Okay.
That's what I remember. But, you're
I
right,
just
it was
wanted
the
to make sure
shortage.
that I could state
You could
with
use
sincerity
other
that
cards to do
my
the mining.
purchase of a redacted amount of fake IDs and redacted year was powered by Nvidia.
Right. Everything. you do.
Perez, I'm ashamed.
The statute of limitations has expired, my friends.
Were you working in the cellar with 100 servers pumping out Bitcoin?
No,
You know-
I just had to go through a lot of hoops to buy Bitcoin at a time when buying Bitcoin was not like I
Did you hold it?
No, because I was an idiot. It was just like I was foolish and I was
Did
like,
you buy a
oh, I
pizza
should
with it?
I bought like $3,000 worth of Bitcoin at a time when that got me many multiples of Bitcoin. And then used it to buy fake IDs for me and my early college friends so that we could drink in the city that we wanted to.
Hey, that's
the
how
Silk
you're
Road?
supposed to use that stuff, man. That's how you're supposed
That's
to
how
use
you're
it.
supposed to use that stuff.
That's
And
the problem with all
But the
this
issue
stuff.
was at the
Timing.
time you could not just it wasn't super easy to buy Bitcoin. Like I had to go transfer money in person. I had to go to a MoneyGram, but in the town I was in at the time, they didn't just like have a MoneyGram place you could go to. I had to go inside a CVS and I was like, where is the MoneyGram? And the woman just points to a red wired phone, like a corded landline phone. And she's like, pick it up. Someone will answer. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Someone? I did. Someone
That
did.
sounds shady.
I explained that I wanted to buy was using this to buy a bunch of Bitcoin, and they denied my purchase because they thought I was being scammed.
Oh, that's fascinating.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So let's talk about.
That was a great conversation. I'm glad we had that. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, he was fantastic.
great.
Good booking. Let's talk about Sam Altman's little blog.
I have a annotated version if you want me to email it.
I think that would be great. The post is called "The Gentle Singularity."
Oh, Jesus.
We are past the event horizon. The takeoff has started. Humanity is close to building digital superintelligence. Wait a minute, I need some reverb to do that. To do that completely right.
Digital superintelligence.
Digital superintelligence. That wasn't very good reverb.
It was pretty good.
He says robots are not yet walking the streets, nor are most of us talking to AI all day. I personally am. People still die of disease. We can't easily go to space, and there's a lot about the universe we don't understand. But we've recently built systems that are smarter than people in many ways. Sam is a
Stop right
master
there.
of this.
Stop right there. Right?
Okay.
No, that's just false. That's just
Yeah.
false. It's
No.
and he's defining smarter.
Okay.
And is a calculator smarter at certain tasks? Yes. Is it an amazing machine? Yes. Can it do a lot of functions far better than I can? Yes. But to then make the next leap that it's smarter than us is
That's a poor choice of words.
he has tons of them in there. A species hubris that's beyond.
He says, and by the way, this was the week they released the new O3, what do they call it? O3 deep research model that so far looks extremely good. He says the scientific insights that got us to systems like GPT-4 and O3 were hard won, but will take us very far. He also reassures people that don't worry, you're not killing the environment by using AI.
I sent you I have my annotated in red version of it. It drove me so crazy.
Oh, well, we can.
Wait, where is that?
I'll email it to you both.
I will
It's
pull
a
it up here.
PDF.
People are often curious about how much energy a ChatGPT query uses, says Altman. The average query uses about 0.34 watt hours. That's what an oven would use in a little over 1 second. Or a high efficiency light bulb would use in a couple of minutes. And it uses 0.000085 gallons of water. 1/50th of a teaspoon.
Where's the footnote for that?
Do you think he's lying?
Oh, I think it's funny math. It's Altman math.
Well, look, even if it's accurate math, what it doesn't say is we'll take that number and multiply it by a billion queries a day.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The worst line to me, in some big sense, ChatGPT is already more powerful than any human who has ever lived. The ego of that, the hubris of that, it's just ridiculous.
Well, what you can say now is that he's a salesman and he's
that's all he is. Yeah.
Hyping it.
Yeah, but that's the problem. That's what I think is ruining the technology that I do admire and use and like and root for, is that this kind of crap is what not only oversells it, but puts a regulatory target on its back. It's going to disappoint people in the long run. It's going to cause another AI winner because he's not going to deliver this stuff that he talks about.
By the way, here is the copy of Jeff's annotated version in red ink. He writes,
Going crazy.
Not smarter. Something about Taylor Swift. I don't know.
It's Taylorist. It's Taylorist. He's talking about how that's the efficiency expert of years gone by.
This is so funny, Jeff.
I
You
love
didn't
this. I wish you
email
were
this
my
to me.
professor. AI will contribute to the world in many ways, but the gains to quality of your life from AI driving faster scientific progress and increased productivity will be enormous. The future can be vastly better than the present. Why don't you shout your annotation as I read this? Scientific progress is the biggest driver of overall progress.
And science is being attacked.
In some sense, ChatGPT is already more powerful than any human who has ever lived.
The hubris.
2025 has seen the arrival of agents that can do real cognitive work.
No.
Period.
But the world wants a lot more of both, and experts will probably be much better than novices as long as they embrace the new tools.
Gee, thanks, Sam.
Well, but that's good, don't you? I mean, I've always said AI plus human equals something special. I'm thinking of myself.
But he's putting it above us. Wait till we get to Ilya later in the show.
People, by the way, good news, will still love their families, express their creativity, play games, and swim in lakes.
Was it ever a concern that people wouldn't love their families, Sam?
Or swim in lakes?
Sam,
what are you?
Swim in lakes.
I think he's projecting there.
He's like, I don't need my bunker. People don't need to find out about the bunker.
It's going to be okay.
We don't need to talk about the bunker.
There's no bunker. What bunker? We do not know how far beyond the human level intelligence we can go, but we're about to find out.
No basis for that.
Intelligence and energy are going to become wildly abundant.
No basis for that either.
With abundant intelligence and energy and good governance,
Solve for Trump there, fella.
we can theoretically have anything else.
Define intelligence.
Already.
I love solve for Trump as a comment talking about and good governments and parentheticals.
So, admittedly, we have an administration in Washington, D.C. right now that is somewhat anti-science.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they are also lifting, thanks to Elon, maybe this will change now that they've had a falling out, but they're lifting the lid on AI. They're eliminating regulations statewide on AI, nationwide on AI. So it's a pro-AI administration. Maybe
It's
David
a pro
Sachs
big AI company, but I think I want to see more open source stuff, and that's not here.
Yeah. Trump also is pretty much killing NASA, or maybe I shouldn't say Trump, the big awful bill or whatever they call it is pretty much gutting NASA.
Jared, the guy he
and
axed,
Jared Isaacman is gone.
He's from my town.
Well, so there.
He dropped out of high school because he started his business.
Yeah. Yeah. Advanced AI is interesting for many reasons, but perhaps nothing is quite as significant as the fact that we can use it to do faster AI research.
Well, that's his business model.
This is a larval version of recursive self-improvement.
Yeesh.
This is fun. You've got a lot of red here.
Yeah.
Seriously, what's the worst thing?
The worst is the better than any human in history.
Yeah.
This cost of intelligence should eventually converge to near the cost of electricity. It's so anti-humanistic. It acts as if, and again, we're going to get to this with Ilya's speech, I hope later, it acts as if we're nothing but a machine. It's mechanistic. And then we probably won't adopt a new social contract all at once. That's so Zuckerberg after a sophomore lecture.
Yeah. Sometimes this does feel like, late night college kid BS.
The worst is down on page 6 of 8. Number 1.
I'm here. So the best path forward, he says, Sam Altman says, might be something like this. 1, solve the alignment problem, meaning that we can robustly guarantee that we get AI systems to learn and act towards what we collectively really want over the long term.
BS.
There's so many things wrong with that sentence. I don't even know where to begin.
Well,
First of all, robustly guarantee. A lot to unpack there.
Well, maybe you feel like we can't, but that's certainly a goal, isn't it? It
but wait. So 1 is robustly guarantee.
Yeah, it's like very unique.
Interesting. Yeah. Secondarily, that we could get these systems to learn and act towards what we collectively really want over the long term.
Good point.
We, as a collective, agree on nothing. No, we have no shared goals or wants that we could agree on.
Or as the Spice Girls said, tell me what you want, what you really want.
Yeah.
Thank you, Galia. I stole her joke. Yeah. I mean, but I think that is something, it would be nice. I mean, this is
it's impossible, but that's my own view.
Yeah. This is the alignment problem, though, which is that, it's the Nick Bostrom's paperclip conundrum. And
is that Bostrom or that's what's his name? That's Sutskever. No, that's not Sutskever. That's what's his name. That's the other one.
Okay, it's what's his name's problem.
Yeah, it's what's his name.
So we had somebody on who brought up a really good example of AI kind of misunderstanding the task in the case of finding landmines, right? It was supposed to diffuse landmines, but what did it do instead? It found the ones that didn't go off, I think, or something like that.
It doesn't want to get killed.
Yeah,
it's alive.
So it's tricky. Let's put it that way, to get an AI to do what you want, what you really, really want. Number 2, then, after we do that, let's focus on making superintelligent cheap, widely available, and not too concentrated with any person, country, or company.
Then open source it, Buster.
Yeah, open source the weights. Well, that was OpenAI's original plan.
That was exactly.
That's why they were founded.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how committed he is to that point, given.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So that's just kind of BS he just threw in there.
But what's he building, Leo? What are he in the industry building?
We, the whole industry, not just OpenAI, are building a brain for the world.
The hubris.
He had to think of that line and be like, I got it. I got the blog.
Oh, he didn't think of it. Douglas Adams thought of it in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when it turned out the entire Earth was a giant computer the mice had made to solve the problem of life, the universe, and everything. Actually, that's
cool.
It's actually a nice parable in this case, because the super geniuses built a computer to do it. And they said, what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? And the supercomputer said 42.
Right.
So then they had to build an even bigger computer to answer, well, what the hell's that mean? So you see, it's kind of big brains all the way down. OpenAI
that's exactly what this is, though, right?
That's what he wants.
That's what he's insisting. Yeah,
he didn't even make it up. Building a brain for the world. It sounds like the mice are at it again. We are a superintelligence research company. Yeah.
PR.
Why is that PR? Why? That's
because
exactly what they are.
So if you got to buy into the superintelligence BS. B, they're calling themselves a research company. What he really said above is look at what we really got going with building server farms. That's PR.
$1 trillion worth of PR.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Intelligence too cheap to meter is well within grasp.
I lost my place.
It's not that cheap. I mean, it's $20 a month, and you could pay even $200 a month. So it's not yet too cheap to meter. That may sound crazy to say, he says, but if we told you back in 2020 we were going to be where we are today, that's probably true. It sounded more crazy than our current predictions about 2030. You know, I've given up.
I don't think it sounds crazier than the current predictions about 2030. I feel like if you told me in 2020
there's some pretty crazy ones
at where we are today, I'd be like, huh, that's kind of wild.
Interesting.
But I wouldn't be like, yeah, we're gonna all have robots in our blood. Does not sound less crazy than that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sci-fi in this post.
Oh, there is.
Computronium.
There's a lot of computronium in this post. Finally, the coda to all of this, the last sentence. May we scale smoothly, exponentially, and uneventfully through superintelligence.
Amen.
And you write, may the force be with us. I love his posts, by the way.
Oh God! Can I know it's not a democracy, but can we segue into Sutskever's 1 minute of Sutskever in Toronto?
Yeah. So he was
That's
giving
line 86.
He was giving the valedictory address at his university. He went there, right?
He went there. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's where all the things happened in the bedroom. Was in Toronto. That Stephen told us about.
Okay, if you missed the interview earlier, he's talking about a computer that was built in the kid's bedroom.
Worse, it was in a kid's bedroom, but
it's called AlexNet. Yes. Start at 550. All right, ready? Let me turn up the sound. Ladies and gentlemen, just a little background.
Just a minute here. Okay.
Ilya Sutskever, we talked about him. He was at the University of Toronto, created AlexNet with two others, including Geoffrey Hinton, which actually proved to people who did not believe it that convolutional neural networks were indeed a valid way to pursue AI.
A big deal.
A big deal because
deal.
Everybody else, including, by the way, I have to point out when Stephen Wolfram was on, he said, no, I still think symbolic logic is going to end up, he even still was not convinced that neural nets were the be all and end all. So and he comes from that era of symbolic AI. So here's Ilya speaking to the University of Toronto. He's a recipient of an honorary doctorate. This was just a couple of days ago.
Slowly but surely, or maybe not so slowly, AI will keep getting better. And the day will come when AI will do all the things that we can do. Not just some of them, but all of them. Anything which I can learn, anything which any one of you can learn, the AI could do as well. How do we know this, by the way? How can I be so sure? How can I be so sure of that? The reason is that all of us have a brain, and the brain is a biological computer. That's why. We have a brain. The brain is a biological computer. So why can't a digital brain do the same things? This
Harris, you want to answer that one?
Summary.
Oh, I don't even know at this point.
What would Jeff be shouting in red right now if he were?
No!
Substrate dependence.
Exclamation point.
Substrate dependence.
Anti-humanistic. I talked about this with Jason earlier today, but
you're too high in your own fumes, my guy.
Amen. And when the telegraph started, it was analogized to our nervous system. When the internet came along, our brain was analogized to a network. Now our brain is called a computer. Ergo, if I can build a brain, it can do everything and more that we did, and I'm the really most powerful person because I built it. And it's living by a metaphor that is false.
I love this substrate dependence. I want Benito to explain what he means by that.
It means that like what we know of how our brains work might depend completely on what we're made of. We don't know.
It might not be so reducible that a silicon device could do it.
It might have to be. Might have to be wet works like what we're made of. It might have to be that. We don't know.
They're going to tear us apart just for our brains. It's the intelligent version of Soylent Green. I need your substrate. They're going to be
putting us in those little people pods you see in Matrix.
They're harvesting substrate.
This is where, what is normally a computational question or an engineering question verges into philosophy because we don't know what consciousness is. We don't know what we're doing when we think. I think it's completely possible that we are pretty much indistinguishable from an autocorrect on steroids that we are the sum. Well, think about it, Jeff. We are the sum of our experience. Everything that comes out of your mouth, every thought you have is the sum of all the things you've experienced up to now. Do you think there's something else contributing to that?
Yes. Biology.
Okay, that's the question.
Genes.
Biology, genes,
instinct.
The way that you perceive your experiences is different than the way I perceive my experiences.
Oh, no, I agree with that. But I'm saying, so this is really another version of the nature-nurture argument. I'm not saying that you and I have the same process by any means, but your process, is it not possible? Your process, every word that comes out of your mouth next is merely the conditioning of all the sum of your life's experience.
How deterministic are you?
Well, I don't know. This is a problem. We don't know the answer to that question.
This goes back to a book I've mentioned a few times over the years, How History Gets Things Wrong, and that there isn't a theory of mind. The theory of mind is wrong. We don't balance needs and desires. That instead, yes, we are a big videotape, and we play it back, and that we are our own digital twin. What are the paths here? What we do? But Leo, what really struck me is that you have argued that we shouldn't. I'm going to get this wrong now. You've argued that we shouldn't expect the computer to be anything more than our brains are. Right. That our brains are imperfect, so the computer is imperfect. But he's doing a weird variation on that argument that says that because our brains are computer, it will be as good and better than our brains. And you're saying accept it to be less than our brains, and that's okay. And he's saying it'll be more than our brains.
Well, and again, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just making the argument that is, I think, a legitimate argument, but we don't know the answer to. If you and I and Paris are the sum of our experiences and some sort of mechanistic thing that creates thoughts and words and actions based on all that we have learned in our lifetime. If something could learn a lot more than us, if something could encompass all the learning in the world, would it not be a superior thinking? I mean, it's still an autocorrect, but would it not be a better one?
I don't think that's quantifiable.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
there's no answer to
quantifiable,
this.
and I think that's also, trying to compare something that ingests large amounts of data, be it written or visual or otherwise, and then is capable of outputting response is not a one-to-one comparison with human learning or the human experience. Like, part of the reason why we are the people we are is because, as you say, we are the sum of all these experiences we've had, and those experiences are things that are not just ingesting all the text in the land or ingesting all the YouTube videos and Reddit comments you can. They are experiences. I don't know. I think that we
could eventually get to the point. Admittedly, the current AIs don't have all the experiences we do. That's one of the reasons robotics is important, so they can have the experience of physics. But it's conceivable, if that is true, that you could create a situation where a machine would have all those experiences.
Mr. Met in the chat just brought up a point that I've been trying to articulate throughout this conversation, which is Mr. Met says, I think one of the things that makes me so uncomfortable with all of this is all of this dehumanizes actual humans and starts looking at everyone as a version of a robot. This makes it so much easier to dehumanize people, to say wipe out millions who are not up to snuff. And I think that's a really important conversation to be having, especially right now at our kind of political.
Yeah, I agree.
But in order
but you still have to tell the truth.
In order to have that not happen, I do think that purposefully we need to be centering our conversations around these topics to not dehumanize people. Like, I do think that's something you have to keep in your brain. You can't just ignore it.
But what if it's the truth?
That humans are not valuable and none of our things. I
didn't say we're not valuable.
I think that that's the truth anyway. I think that nothing that humans do is particularly unique when you think of the entirety of the universe, but we consider ourselves unique solely because we prioritize our relationships with others and have created this kind of society that is arranged around the idea of individuality and life having meaning.
Look, I believe this is the same thing people say, well, if you don't believe in God, then how can you have a morality? I believe that you can be moral and not kill other people just because you recognize that what we do is essentially mechanistic. I don't think those are two related processes. Some people might use that. Now, I don't know what the answer is, but I have to say, if we're not some deterministic mechanistic process, then you have to presume some magical process. Roger Penrose would say quantum
magic
physics.
is that which you can't explain. It's like David
Yeah.
Weinberger says, an accident is something we can't explain.
But you have
My
to
cat would be
conjure up,
magic by that.
you have to
definition.
conjure up some sort of special thing that we are that's distinctive from a mechanistic deterministic machine.
You always
Now,
have to
maybe
do
there
that.
is. That's the soul or whatever. Maybe that exists. I don't know.
No matter how far we push science, though, there will always be that edge. God, that's why they say God is in the edges. Like, it's always going to be there. There's always going to be something.
That's a belief. I understand that, and that's a good belief. Also, some people believe in God, and some people believe in the spirit and the soul. I'm not making a case here. I'm just saying that's what you have to presume, is that there are some sort of process over and above this mechanistic process that makes us special that a machine could not do.
No, it's what Anthony said. It's what Benito said. It could be that we're presuming it's a process analogous to a computer, when it could be that there's other stranger processes going on that we just can't explain.
Could be.
Doesn't make it better, doesn't
Absolutely.
make it above.
Could be, but we don't know.
I'm going to read from Mark Twain's really weird book, The Mysterious Stranger.
Love that book. Love that book.
This is the spoiler of all spoilers. There is no God, no universe, no human race, no earthly life, no heaven, no hell. It is all a dream, a grotesque and foolish dream. Nothing exists but you. And you are but a thought, a vagrant thought, a useless thought, a homeless thought, wandering forlorn among the empty eternities.
He never finished that book, by the way.
No. How do you beat that? Paris, is that nihilistic for you?
It's great.
Yeah.
I think
Life is
it's now we're in a philosophic conversation.
Yes, we are.
Right?
Yes, we are.
I guess my only point is we just don't know.
No.
And I don't think it's impossible, even if we don't like it, that we are purely deterministic, mechanistic creatures.
It is possible.
It's possible, but Sutskever is saying that that's what is. That's the problem.
He doesn't know either.
No, but
no
he
one knows.
doesn't know, but he's
I
saying
just
he
think
claims to know. He's claiming to know.
Well,
It's just a very uninteresting world to sort of state that you know something like that as a fact, and that not only do you know it, but you know that you're going to build something even better than it.
One
You know what I
sentence
do know?
described for all time. I've done it. There's the answer. Yeah.
I know we need to take a commercial break. I also know that the next topic will be this Apple paper on the illusion of
It's a
thinking.
philosophical day.
Man, before we get there, can we do a brief, 10 minutes on WWDC and how stupid some of the stuff is there?
Oh, that's your point of view. Is it, young lady? All right.
Okay,
We'll talk
the
about that.
glass
Wait a minute. I got to take a
Sorry,
break.
I'm
We got to take a break. I
Come
told you
back
that.
to this argument after this break.
After this message. Of course, that's a great conversation. It's not exactly IM. I guess it is because they talked about AI. Okay. That's coming up with Paris Martineau and Jeff Jarvis. You're watching Intelligent Machines. This episode brought to you by Smarty. Now, here's something I do know. Smarty is the trusted leader in cloud-based automated address data solutions. They power real-time validation, autocomplete enrichment, and the way they do it is the right way, lightning fast APIs. With Smarty's address validation APIs, you can instantly, and I mean they're fast, verify and standardize addresses across any system, from customer forms to massive databases, ensuring accuracy and deliverability at scale. Smarty's autocomplete API, this is great. You've probably encountered it already when you're in a shopping cart and you're typing your address, and you notice how quickly it figures out what the rest of that address is. That's probably Smarty's autocomplete API. Now, here's the nice thing. There are people who use like Google to do this, but unlike Google, Smarty's API only offers valid address solutions to your forms in real time. No hallucinations, making form filling and checkout quick and easy for your customers and keeping your database filled only with valid addresses. That's pretty important. You don't want to ship to an address that doesn't exist. You know who loves Smarty? Fabletics. Companies like Fabletics have drastically increased conversion rates for new customers. And one of the things Fabletics does is a U.S. company, but they sell internationally, right? This has been so helpful with Smarty. For deeper insights, Smarty's property data API appends 350 plus property details to address records. You can enrich your database with location, structural, financial insights automatically. Faraday, another, you, by the way, see all these testimonials right there on the Smarty site. Faraday needed a turnkey way to standardize and blend address data from various sources to feed their customer behavior prediction models. The CTO of Faraday said, quote, Smarty helped us scale our business and focus on our core competencies, and their technology has kept up with the cutting edge. Even 10 years later, Smarty still has the best address API on the market. Still, they're getting better every year. Smarty is a 2025 award winner across many G2 categories: best results, best usability, users most likely to recommend, high performer for small businesses. Yeah, it's not just for big enterprises. Also, you'll be glad to know Smarty is USPS CAS and SOC 2 certified and HIPAA compliant. So whether you're optimizing user experience, cleansing legacy records, implementing identity verification, or scaling data pipelines, Smarty delivers enterprise-grade performance with unmatched speed. Can you say 25,000 plus addresses a second? You can even get things like rooftop level precision, which in some areas is really critical to delivering things. The door's there, not there. And easy developer integration. It's so easy. This is a great API. Smarty makes it simple to add accurate, reliable address features right into your product or platform. With powerful APIs designed for speed and ease, you'll have address data that works no matter what you're building. I hope you're interested. Try it for yourself. Get 1,000 free lookups when you sign up for their 42-day free trial. Visit smarty.com/twit to learn more. That's smarty.com/twit. We thank Smarty so much for supporting This Week in Tech. No, well, Twit, but I am specifically. Thank you. All of Twit. They bought the whole network. So, Paris, you were unsatisfied with Apple's WWDC keynote.
We just need to be talking about liquid glass, which is the design rollout that Apple has announced. Well, one, this also is coming at a time where Apple's big change is that they're changing their iOS numbering from just being numbers to being years, which I guess makes sense, but it's just ridiculous to go from whatever number iOS we were at before, whatever it was like.
Well, that's the problem. You don't
26.
know.
But
Now
why do I need to know, Leo? I don't. That's not a number I need to have, and it's dumb for it to be iOS 26.
You don't have to look it up. It's just
now.
the year.
It's iOS 25, or it's iOS 26, but it's coming out in 2025. I don't like that. Secondly,
well, your
new
car, when you buy it in September, you get the 2026 model. You have a 2026 VW
I
Bug.
think that's wrong and dumb too, and it doesn't mean that Apple should do it as well. But liquid glass, one, terrible name. It sounds like it's the name of a style of T-shirt that would be sold by Guy Fieri. Two,
I have to agree with you. I do have to agree with you on that.
It looks that
you don't think it's pretty?
Came together. Not really. Like, it seems busy. Like, it might be pretty in some of the photos that they're showing.
But
imagine having that.
Right?
Yeah, I use a Mac.
Yeah.
Imagine having that busyness on all of your screens all the time, 24/7. I don't want that sort of visual clutter. I don't like that a toolbar will be floating always and then vaguely reflecting what's under it. It just doesn't seem useful. I remember seeing someone doing a long Twitter thread on, like, I assume that uses, I'm going to probably describe it wrong, some sort of computing power or like memory in the same way that like motion effects on the iPhone also uses.
They even said they couldn't do this until recently. And in fact, by the way, Microsoft tried to do this in Windows Vista. They called it Aero Glass, and it didn't. It was terrible because there wasn't enough horsepower to do it. So Apple believes there's enough horsepower in the modern phones but
it's like, from a company that is already building a phone that, like, within a year of me getting whatever new iPhone, my battery power is already, like, I'm already losing 50% of battery by the time 2 p.m. rolls around. I don't need any more doodads and gizmos making that worse just for vibes, and not even particularly
Jeff,
good vibes.
Did you put something in her cereal? She's sounding like you, Jeff.
Yeah. I'm standing back watching. I'm
uninterested in unnecessary visual clutter from the company that's supposed to be Mr. Design. No, I'm not willing. I'm single right now. I can't have an Android. This is also, I will say,
for dating
this
purposes,
is something
you
I've
need
noticed
to be
now.
a blue bubble. Yes.
This is unfortunate. This is a data point I've learned from. I will say there's probably like at least 3 people that I've gone on dates with in the past, all men, in the past 6 months that have said they've switched from Android to iPhone because they thought the social stigma was impacting their dating prospects. I realized this the other day because I was like on a date with somebody.
Boys don't Oogle, girls
He was
who
showing
use
me
Google.
in a Notes app, and I was like, "What Notes app is this?" And he was like, "Oh, Google Notes." And I'm like, "Oh, so you were an Android user?" And he's like, "Don't judge me." I did a little bit.
Did you judge him? Did you?
Just a little bit. But then I thought it was kind of funny that he switched to Apple just for the so I judged him a little bit for that instead.
I have to ask my daughter about this. She's a devout Android user. She hates Apple. She thinks Apple's the devil.
That's a class of Android user as well. I mean, I don't have any strong feelings about either. I just think that Apple has done a good job of what they set out to do, which was apply unnecessary and unwarranted social stigma to using an Android device in group chat and direct message settings, and they've accomplished that.
That was their. All right, since we are an AI show.
My one pro for WWDC is I think it's great that they're doing. You can do polls in group chats.
Yes,
that'll be really
start
useful.
doing them the minute that arrives. Yeah. I'll do.
See, I don't
we
care.
have a group chat.
I don't
called
care. I'm
Humans.
fine. I'm happy with my Android. I live la vida Google.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know what'll happen if we do a poll. You might not see it. You might not get to vote.
Yeah,
Jeff.
maybe you
See,
might
that's
not.
the thing. It's either
I will
you
say,
snobs, you snots.
having Jeff in our group chat
exclusionary.
as an Android user does mean that I keep getting strange impacts where it keeps saying that I renamed the group chat, but I didn't.
No,
Someone else
I've
did.
been renaming the group chat. By the way,
As you should. I knew it was probably you, but I was
No.
like, I can't.
I decided on human beings.
How is that my fault?
It seems like it's probably your fault.
Because you're in there as an Android user.
Because you're
I do
green
have to
bubbling
say,
it.
I have to,
Schmutzing
but
up
I have to
the,
say he's
human
not
beings.
he's not a green bubble. We're all the same color bubble.
You guys keep saying this. My bubbles are all green in the group chat, and that's
mine
fine.
are green. My bubbles,
Yes.
and all the rest of you are gray, right?
Yes, but that's what I mean by green bubble. It's a green bubble based message. It's a shorthand for what is now RCS, but that doesn't matter because RCS is fine.
Oh, because
More of
we
just
have
the
to be
social
RCS
stigma.
because one of us is an Android user. We can't use
What was this show called for 100 years?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey,
Jeff.
by the way, the new Android 16 came out this week. Are you excited, Jeff?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's really not that interesting.
you
They
won't
didn't
even stand up
redesign
for
it
it.
or anything. It's just
It
kind of-
works. That's the thing. It's not worth getting upset over.
That's what I think. That's one of the reasons we don't do a show about Android anymore, is because it's just a tool. It doesn't spark a
Doesn't
debate
spark joy.
or not even anything, any emotion. It's just like, yeah, it's like a hammer.
I'm happy as hell because I got an invitation to next week's Chromebook event.
But there's
Or
going to be a
are you
Chromebook
gonna
event
take them
next
to the
week?
cleaners with concerns about Google Workspace?
Well, there's that. Yeah, I just yelled at 2 Google people about that today.
Good. So they're
very
announcing new Chromebooks, or what's
Yeah,
the deal?
yeah.
In
there's
New
some
York.
Mondo one. Yeah, New York.
Oh, it's
Got an invite.
exciting.
I'll fill you
Nice.
in next week.
So I was I thought Apple had to thread a needle. You remember last year at their developer conference, they announced AI features they never delivered. They still haven't delivered, particularly Siri. They really felt like the world was going towards AI chatbots, and they were the original chatbot. Siri should be able to do it, but Siri couldn't do it. They've admitted since then that Siri kind of did it, but it made enough mistakes that it wasn't something they were going to put out. So they had a big ad campaign they killed. They said, sorry, we're not going to do it. And so everybody was wondering, what are they going to say on Monday? Are they going to say, oh, we blew it? Are they going to not mention it at all? Are they going to forget AI exists? And I think they did the right thing, which was instead of focusing on a chatbot, which they still don't have, they said you can use OpenAI. You can use other chatbots if you want. They incorporated, for instance, ChatGPT into their very pathetic image playground, image design thing. But mostly what they did is they said, AI should be in the background. It should help you without being a big AI thing.
Without being a transparent, slightly shiny overlay.
The
that's on
design
your
is
screen
separate
all the
from the
time.
AI. The design is just
Sorry,
the design.
I'm heated. I'm not gonna let it go.
Did you have some Red Bull today, Paris? Is that
I
what it was?
truly did not. I will say, coming into this podcast, I was like, wow, I'm a bit low energy. I didn't have much coffee. I don't know. I didn't realize that I had this passion for liquid glass until I started
Apparently
saying it. You can see I'm turning red.
It's kind of you're kind of your volcano behind you. You're living.
I am. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
It's bubbling.
I appreciate the passion.
You are a lava lamp.
Apple's decision was we really want to focus on stuff with our models that you can do on device. That's good for for those of you who are worried about the environment, that's good because it's your device, not, some big server farm. It's people worried about privacy. That's good because only you see what you're doing. It is a little limiting, right? That's going to be the question. Can their AI do the things they've promised on device? But I think it's a smart move. I think it puts them in a different venue than Google and OpenAI and Anthropic. They're going to do their own thing. They're going to say, if you really want Google or OpenAI or Anthropic, you can do, as I have done, put one of those apps on your phone and use that on your iPhone. That's fine. But we're going to keep it private. We're going to keep it to ourselves. And I think that's an interesting play. I think they're smart.
So what does Johnny Ive do?
Remember, he's doing a hardware device with
Johnny
Sam.
Ive gets $70 billion to stand in a cafe with Sam Altman while wearing a turtleneck.
$6.5 billion. There's a big difference.
Okay.
Actually, there's no difference.
No.
From your point of view of your lifestyle, it doesn't matter. Anything above 1 billion, it doesn't matter. I think that's the point, is that OpenAI thinks it's going to be about chat.
Is this an application or a platform? Is AI an application or a platform? I'm coming to think more and more that it's a platform. It's just like the internet, and AI is going to do stuff. And what you're going to want is what's built on top of that.
And that's exactly Apple's
Notebook
point of view.
LM.
That's exactly Apple's point of view. Actually, Notebook LM is really interesting. Apple doesn't have anything like that. I was just reading I was kind of a little bit surprised, a piece by a guy I really wouldn't think of as being a Notebook LM fan, but who puts all of his articles and research into it and then queries it. He says the RAG, that retrieval augmented generation, the ability to have the AI only work on the documents you provide, is really powerful. So are you using it, Jeff, for your books?
No, but what I've decided to do, this is why I bought a tablet recently, and that's why I could annotate Sam's piece, because I'm trying to get in the habit of it, is for the next book about mass, I want to keep everything in PDF so that I can then play with Notebook LM, not to write anything for me, but to find the stuff.
Query it.
To query it, yeah. And because I'm writing this time a very big topic, and so I need to try to start to organize it in my head, and I wonder what help it'll be or not. I couldn't do that in the last books because, I showed you not only is there a ton of books there, but there's also a ton of, you can't even see it. There's thousands of pages of papers that I've printed out.
Won't it be nice when everything's digital and you could put it into an AI?
No, it's not fun. I feel like I don't like having my resources be digital.
It's going to be hard for me to get used to this. I might give up.
Paris, you crack me up.
I know.
I was going to say, I've got all of these.
You should have been born in the 30s.
Where do I put the thread?
I've got all my file folders. This is one of 3. I just created some new to have in my book.
You can't control F that though,
I mean, that is the one problem. But I think when it comes to first pass research for me, like going through primary documents I've perhaps already scanned, realized are useful to whatever query I'm doing, I feel like I engage on a deeper level with the text, going through it IRL.
I, as you can tell, I like to annotate things. I underline things, but I'm going to hope that makes some difference. The other thing is that with books on Kindle, this is what Stephen Johnson did, one of the editorial director of Notebook LM, is that he's so damned organized. He's written 15 books. When he reads books, he marks them. I think it's Kindle that he reads, and then all of those snippets get saved. And then what his first use case for Notebook LM was to put all those snippets into a queryable database, so we could say, well, who else said this, or who disagrees with that? And so we got those pieces of books. Now I use a lot of books that are old, and that's a little bit difficult, but I can scan them in. It's going to be worth the effort. I don't know. But I'm really interested in playing to see what impact NotebookLM might have, mainly on my research and organization. I'm editing. I'm hoping to submit the manuscript for hot type as soon as next week. And then once I do that, I'm going to put that whole thing in NotebookLM, and just after I've already handed it in, just to see what it does.
I should point out, I'm not a huge fan of Gemini. I should point out that kind of RAG capability is available in other tools. ChatGPT has added a project feature. I think the new O3 is actually the smartest AI I've used. It's really, really good.
But it's hard for what I'm doing. How much smarter is smart? I don't know.
Right.
The other thing about NotebookLM that they just announced, I don't know if you talked about this last week in my absence, but you can now share a notebook.
Yeah.
And I think I can imagine that for journalism. I mean, imagine, Paris, if you were able to put in tons of raw documents from an investigative piece and share that with the public and see what they asked of it and what they found in it.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
I mean, that is a thing that I think a lot of investigative outlets are now, not a lot, but some investigative and collaborative outlets are now kind of trialing as a tool. Is like, and this is also something you're starting to see in newsrooms, is it has to come with a lot of caveats saying like, hey, this is an LLM, so like it may be producing answers that are not grounded in reality. But if you are interested in this as a potential surveying tool, like use it, ask some questions and see what you get, which I think is interesting.
You may want to use Google's AI because ChatGPT is facing a little court action. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. You're watching Intelligent Machines. Jeff Jarvis and Paris Martineau. Nice to have you. Our show today brought to you by Monarch Money. Oh, I love this thing. I love this. Finances can be messy and confusing. Monarch Money is kind of like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you could stop earning and start growing. It's more than, just your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center. I put everything in it, my accounts, my investments, my property, my cars, everything you have in it. And then you add your goals. So now you're not just, managing this stuff, you're starting to build wealth. Right now, 50% off your first year for our listeners. Just for me, seeing in one place a dashboard of, how much I lost in the stock market or how much I gained in the stock market, how much my house has gained. All of that in one place is a very useful tool for figuring out what I can do, what I can afford. I'm saving up for, travel because that's one of my favorite things to do. Can I put more away? Can I put less away? It's so valuable to do. And because I can do it with Lisa, with my partner, it makes it even more powerful. Start managing your finances to build the life you actually want. You see, without a clear financial picture, those financial dreams can easily feel out of reach. Monarch makes managing money simple, even for busy lives. With all your accounts, your credit cards, your investments in one place, you'll always know where your money stands. No hassle, really no data entry. It tracks your spending, your savings, your investments effortlessly, auto-categorizes. You can focus now on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. It's a financial tool people actually love. Join over 1 million households using Monarch Money. Named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, I would agree. The top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. Get control over your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use the code IM at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year. That's what I did at monarchmoney.com. Please use our offer code IM. monarchmoney.com, offer code IM. We thank Monarch Money for their support and for keeping my finances in order because it's not easy. OpenAI has been ordered. This is in the New York Times et al. Against OpenAI. They're claiming it of plagiarism. The judge ordered them to save all their chat logs, even the logs of those people who told ChatGPT, don't remember this.
Woo!
This seems like a bad idea. In the filing, the response, OpenAI alleged the court rushed the order based only on a hunch raised by the New York Times and other news plaintiffs. And now, without any, quote, just cause, end quote, OpenAI argued, the order, quote, continues to prevent OpenAI from respecting its users' privacy decisions. This includes ChatGPT Free, Plus, and Pro. If you use the API, same thing.
Thank you, New York Times.
Nice job, New York Times. Well, and I got to blame the court on this one.
Well, no, New York Times asked for it. I blame the New York Times.
They're looking. It's like a fishing expedition. What are they going to do? Go
They're
through
fishing for
all of
us.
all of our prompts, all of our responses, looking for a sentence that appeared in the New York Times?
And the Times was objecting to OpenAI, asking, "How did you? What 100 questions did you ask to get it to repeat a paragraph?"
Yeah. Well, we saw it was in the pleading. One of the things they did is they gave it the first 2 paragraphs in an article and then said, what would come next? Well, yeah. So this is not unusual. See, this is why the court got confused. It's normal in a lawsuit like this to tell the company being sued, no, you can't delete emails. You can't delete any communications. You have to preserve everything for discovery. That's normal. This is different because it's not.
It's us.
It's us. It's our material. All right. I just thought I'd let you know. Maybe you do want to use
there was yet another there was another lawsuit that just broke today, like while we were recording this, right? News of, I think, Disney and others suing Midjourney.
Right.
In particular, Disney and Comcast Universal filed a copyright lawsuit against Midjourney today, calling its popular AI-powered image generator a, quote, bottomless pit of plagiarism for its use of the studio's best-known characters.
There's Shrek. Look, there's Darth Vader. Look, there's Spider-Man and whatever those things are. Look.
I have to insert here, just as an egotistical aside, you know that Murphy Brown once called me a bottomless pit of hate. I just wanted to throw that out. Bottomless pit.
That's lovely.
They're not wrong. Midjourney could, as some other AIs do, say, no, I can't do any copyright material. I frequently ask ChatGPT to take a picture in my photo album and turn it into a Disney cartoon. And I love it.
And Disney hates that.
Well, Snow White doesn't appear in it.
Yeah.
So for instance, I asked it to, I had a picture of my piano where I play, and I asked it, let me see if I can find it. I asked it to take that picture and make it in the style of Disney, with little bluebirds singing around it, like, Snow White had those little bluebirds singing around it, and it turned it into this. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, made me feel good about practicing. Yeah.
When
are we going to have a performance in the podcast?
The bust is a bust my piano teacher gave me of Chopin. It's not a perfect
we do want the recital, Leo. You're not getting off this. We want the recital.
Yeah, we are going to need you to perform for at least an hour or two of the 24 hours.
You understand? I'm just learning, right?
Oh yeah, that's why it's all the more
fun.
fun.
By the end of the 2 hours, you're going to be getting really.
All right, I'm going to play, and you can sing along the famous Irish song "Cockles and Mussels." Would you like to hear it?
Of course, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, cockles and mussels. I once met a girl named Sweet Molly.
I didn't realize this was a real song, to be honest.
She rolled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, singing cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. I'm a beginner. Okay. Thank you very much.
That was really great.
I appreciate all the applause. I kind of feel no golf claps, please. I kind of feel like, I hate to say it, but Disney and Darth have a point here that Midjourney is in fact a quintessential copyright free writer and a bottomless pit of plagiarism. That's why we love it.
But so you can be inspired by Van Gogh. You can be inspired by Disney. How did you see
But
each?
they're
one?
not
Okay.
inspired. They are
On the
copying
right,
it.
On the right are actual pictures from Star Wars of Darth Vader. On the left, the generated pictures
Well,
of Darth
yeah,
Vader.
it's
That's a little more than inspired.
It's a little, yeah, but I think it's better actually.
It is actually better. And by the way, at the same time as they're suing, a lot of Hollywood producers are using these tools to make pre-visualizations and storyboards for their upcoming movies. It's become all the rage. Is this Elsa in Frozen on the right? The actual image of Elsa is slightly different on the left. She looks a little different. That's the AI version. So I think Midjourney did perhaps. It wasn't as cautious as it could be about reproducing copyright material. Here is Homer Simpson in reality on the right, and actually a much better Homer Simpson.
Actually, it is. Yeah.
I have an embarrassing admission, which is that I've never seen all the Star Wars movies, and it's gotten to the point where now I feel like if I see them, I shouldn't just watch them in my home. I should do a bit out of it. If Club Twit is ever interested in watching the Star Wars movies with me for the first time, let me know.
Oh.
I don't know if we're allowed to do that in the club.
So which ones have you
Sure.
seen? Which ones have you seen?
Oh, I haven't seen any of them. I don't know why I phrased it like that.
Any of them?
Well,
How do you expect to date men if you haven't seen Star Wars movies?
I can explain as to why I have not seen any of them in more detail when we're not on a podcast. But
Honestly,
people keep showing me the Star Wars movies, and then we end up talking about something else, and then I don't finish the Star Wars movie.
I hate to admit it because it's bad for my geek cred, but I never liked them. They're childish to me.
Well, I mean, this is the thing: is I hear mixed opinions, and then so I'm like, should I be devoting my time to catching up on all this
Andor's
core
really
pop
good.
culture? I know, but people keep
Andor's
telling me
really
Andor's really good, but I can't just go into Andor.
No,
I
you
haven't
can't
seen a
just do
single
that.
Star Wars.
No, you can't. Oh, wait a minute. Andor precedes all the movies chronologically. You can. In fact, if you were to watch them in order,
Oh, this is
you would
virginal.
start with Andor.
So yeah, she's a Star Wars virgin.
It's true.
Where should she start, chat room, if she's a Star Wars virgin? Not with episode 4, clearly. Right?
What is that? What's the first one that came out chronologically?
Episode 4.
That's why not? Why wouldn't I watch the first one they ever made?
Because it's out of order.
But it's not out of order if it's the first one that came out.
It's the order that Lucas made it in, but then he went back and did 1, 2, and 3. Unfortunately, that's where Jar Jar Binks appears, and that's not the highlight of the show.
Patrick Delahunty, start with Andor.
See, I knew that
then
this
Rogue
would get
One,
people
then
heated.
Star Wars.
This is
A
the
New
issue. Is
Hope,
every time I
Episode 4.
ask people about this, they give me like 75 tasks I have to do, and I'm like, that's a lot.
The problem with doing it in the order that they occurred in this imaginary space is the technology will be really, really good at the
Oh,
beginning and
yeah.
then go way downhill.
down.
But isn't that the true fan experience? Isn't that how you guys all experienced it in just terms of increasing
Start with episode
disappointment?
4. Shouldn't she, Benito, start with
okay.
with
So
A New Hope?
there are two ways you can think of the way I think about this is that only episode 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3 are real Star Wars because those are made by
That's
Lucas.
correct.
Those are made by the actual.
Those
dude
are the
who wrote
Lucas
thing.
ones.
Everything
Yeah.
else is fan fiction. Everything else is fan fiction.
Oh, you asked the wrong guy.
Oh my! Oh my!
So she should watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3?
She should only watch 4, 5, 6.
That's what I
Okay.
think.
That's the most
Those are the
reasonable.
3 best. And it's easier for you. It's only
The
6
chat
hours.
is blowing up.
Yes, I know that's a hot take, and I'm going to get blown up on the internet for that. I never put that out on the internet before, but that's what I believe.
Andor, Rogue One, then A New Hope, episode 4.
I'm not saying the new stuff is bad. I'm just saying it's fan fiction. It's not
It's
made by
not
the guy who made
Lucas.
it. You know?
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Everything I've seen of the new stuff seems like it's fan fiction. There's like
So you've seen
baby
enough.
Yoda?
You've seen clips. You kind of know.
I know that Yoda's a baby, and that's weird. But it's
Yeah.
also not. There's something called Grogu. I don't really know, and I don't care to know. to be
Don't
honest.
watch The Mandalorian. I don't. think
Jammer
that would
B
be-
I have tried to watch them. Somebody showed me 1 or 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, and I wanted to shoot myself, to be honest.
That's not a
but-
good Netflix and chill.
Yeah, it was not.
Jammer B says Andor is right before Rogue One, which is right before Episode 4.
Yeah, Andor's the earliest. It's when
Jeff, do you have any strong opinions on the Star Wars franchise?
Everything is based on 4, 5, 6. So like that's kind
No,
of
because I haven't seen one in 20 years.
C 4, 5,
Almost
6.
like you.
I think Benito's right. C 4, 5, 6. Those are the first three that came out.
And if you don't like those, you don't have
in
to
the
watch
real
any-
world.
If you don't like those, you don't have to watch anything else.
You can stop.
That's good,
Because you
then
will
I'll just have the
you'll then
cultural
be up on the
references, yeah.
lore. That's all you need, right?
This has really come to a fruition because one of my favorite podcasters, they sometimes on their off weeks, they're not doing like D&D comedy stuff that I like. They'll do like movie reviews or like weird TV shows. And normally when they're watching obscure or weird stuff, they start the episode before they get into their funny bits by recapping what it was they just watched for people who haven't seen an obscure cartoon from the 80s. But they've been watching like the new released, I guess, like Star Wars movies that have been in theaters lately, and they don't give a recap because they're like, oh, everybody knows Star Wars. I'm like, some of us want to know what you're talking about.
What kind of idiot wouldn't have watched that?
Leo, do you have any Star Wars imitations in your repertoire?
Misa
Yeah.
don't like a Star Wars.
I know he would.
I do know that.
Misa thinks I was stupid.
I do know that floppy guy.
Also, these movies
floppy
are made
guy.
for children. They are made for children.
Yeah.
They were made for children. And I was an adult when they came out. And that's really the big difference. So the first one came out in 1977. I was already 21. For me, it was good. But it was like I like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I thought there were better sci-fi movies out there, and it is kind of a fairy tale.
It's not sci-fi. Yeah, it's not sci-fi. It's fantasy.
Yeah.
2007?
1977.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah,
So you were not only an adult, you were like middle aged.
I was a columnist in San Francisco.
You're like, there's no reason that I'd be watching this child's movie.
This is a movie for children. I think
I'm the most eligible bachelor in San Francisco.
I'm gonna go watch
I'm not going to be watching a
Dick
Star
and Liz
Wars.
and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I'd rather see that.
Well, I do think the incest potential plotline could be intellectually stimulating. All the lightsaber effects, not my speed.
Well, it is kind of based on the hero's journey. It is a little bit.
I mean, I'd hope so. It's a big budget movie. I hope there's
but
a
it's a
hero's
classic example of the hero's journey. Luke Skywalker's story of redemption. And then he falls in love with, should I tell her now or no? I know spoilers.
No. Let her find that stuff out if she doesn't.
No,
know
I vaguely know. He falls in love with his sister, right? That's why I said the incest plotline.
Say that! Okay. Do we want to talk about the Apple illusion?
Yeah, I wanna hear what you
I'm
have to say about
distracted
it.
from a very on-topic thing.
Or do we
Continue.
care?
I want to hear what you have to say about it. I'm
Yeah.
curious. And then there's Sinofsky on it was really good. Futurism was good. There's comment on it.
So what they did in this Apple thing, I think is, I'm not crazy about what they did, but anyway, what they did.
Well,
is
Leo,
there's-
let me do a preamble, if I may, real quick, because what strikes me here is that when Apple couldn't conquer advertising,
Yeah, that's
they
right.
said that we're the privacy company because they couldn't do it, they couldn't sell
Exactly.
advertising, and now they can't conquer AI. So this is kind of the way they're shooting AI in the foot.
Honestly, these guys are researchers. I
Yeah, they're
doubt
real.
I
They're
doubt they're carrying water for Apple's corporate marketing, but
corporate marketing is giggling.
corporate marketing didn't mind it.
Nope.
So they're testing these new large reasoning models, right? These ones that are thinking. Now, unfortunately, when the
Air
paper was
quotes,
done,
reasoning.
yeah, when the paper was done, it was Claude 3.7. It was ChatGPT 01 and 03, DeepSeek R1. So there's newer stuff. But what they did is they gave it classic problems in not exactly even computer theory, like the Towers of Hanoi. You know the Towers of Hanoi, right? That's the one where you got 3 pegs and a bunch of disks, and you're to move the pile of disks from the first peg to the third peg without ever putting a larger
This is
disk
kind
on
of
top
crap
of a smaller.
I'm so bad at. I am not AI.
Actually, Steve talked about this yesterday, and I actually went out and bought, because I grew up with the Towers of Hanoi when I was a little kid. So I said, I got to have another one. So it's once you figure out the algorithm, it's pretty simple. A human can solve it. A kid can solve it. I solved it when I was a kid. And in fact, I think probably this is before I did any computer programming, before we even knew about computers practically. I think it helped me when it did come time to kind of learn how to program. I kind of understood algorithmic solving, because essentially what you're doing is repeating something over and over again.
Is this a spoiler, Leo? Are you going to spoil it for me?
No. Just look for the patterns, Jeff. Look for the patterns. Anyway, it turns out that what you can do quite well, these reasoning machines fail at miserably. So this first graph on the left, along the x-axis, is the number of disks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can make this an infinite number of disks. They went all the way up to 20 disks, which for a human, once you've solved a 3-disk, would be trivial, because you just do what you did for the first 3 over and over and over again till you get to 20. And in fact, up at the top here, you're looking at Claude 3.7 versus the thinking version of Claude. Both did fairly well, nearly 100% solutions for the first 3 disks. After 3 disks, Claude 3.7 fell off the map. Its accuracy went way down, and finally got.
It had a complete accuracy collapse.
Yeah, by 8 disks, it could no longer solve it. The thinking one did go a little farther, but again, by 10 disks, same thing. Let's see, response length, position. Yeah, that's less important. I mean, the main point is they couldn't do it. As it got more complex, they just failed. So are they thinking? I don't know. I'm not sure what we learned here, except something that anybody who's used AI much knows, that it's going to fail. It's not always perfect.
Well, here's the question I was thinking about earlier today. Does it know the definition of failure?
Well, that's, to me, a more interesting result that a lot of studies are having. What's very clear is if the AI is not given enough information to answer your question, if Notebook LM doesn't have enough documents to answer your question, it will hallucinate.
That's where the trouble comes in, because it wants to please you. It is written to please you.
Because its understanding of failure is not producing an answer.
Right.
The barometer for failure should be if the answer is incorrect.
You're both answerable. All it's doing, remember, is it's putting one token after another.
Yep.
If it has, information
a good token,
about the tokens,
it'll put it there.
It will do the best, it will take the best token. Absent any information, it'll just take whatever it comes up with.
Because it has no meaning. It has no sense
it's meaning. It's just one
failure.
Token after the other.
Right.
And if
of success or failure.
If it runs out of useful tokens, it's got a bunch of crap. It will just put that in there. So that's why it hallucinates more. And I think it's pretty straightforward. They did checker jumping. They did blocks world. They did river crossing. Similar problems. Let's go down to they did a lot of this. Oh my God, they did it over and over and over again. Let's see that.
Let's being a researcher.
That's how you do science, Leo.
Yeah. You keep doing it. It feels like a fairly trivial study. Where's their conclusion? They don't even.
It's in the paper itself, isn't it? Down there, I thought it was.
Yeah. By the way, one of the things they didn't do, which everybody who uses AI knows, you can also say think harder, or even better, write code. Had it been asked to write code to solve the tolerance at Hanoi, I think it could have solved it perfectly forever. Because that's
11 of the paper is the conclusion. We systematically examine frontier large variety of models through the lens of problem complexity. Our findings reveal fundamental limitations in current models. Despite sophisticated self-reflection mechanisms, these models fail to develop generalizable reasoning capabilities beyond certain complexity thresholds.
That's valuable, I think, actually.
I think it is.
They can't think, in other words.
No, that's good.
What was interesting?
It's kind of quantifying what we can ask them, right? Like that's kind of what it's saying, right? That's good.
To me, that's what you want to learn. That's what this show's about. What can you reasonably use AI to do, and what is unreasonable to ask of it?
So then there were reactions to it, which I enjoyed more. Stephen Sinofsky came out of it and said that the problem here is the anthropomorphization.
Yeah.
And that this is the argument I have about things like Sam Altman's sophomore essay, is that it presents a view of this stuff that's just not accurate, and it's not fair to the technology. Oddly.
Right.
and what it can do.
By the way,
This is where we get ourselves in trouble.
the person who probably did the most work was the intern who is listed. Good job, Parshan Shojay, because I think you probably did all the work. This was the first name in the authors, and he's an intern. Yeah, I think anthropomorphizing is definitely, the flaw.
That's surely the problem that's happening in the general public. Like
And certainly Sam Altman has encouraged that. No question about it. Now, Futurism
big,
says,
beautiful brain.
Apple researchers just released a damning paper that pours cold water on the entire AI industry. I think that's going a little far.
That's just as bad. Yep.
And then it has a robot with a dunce cap just to
I do like that. Actually.
drive it home.
That's good. It's a good art.
Yeah. It went to Getty to buy it, but anyway, they got it.
I wonder if they AI generated that, to be honest.
Yeah, it kind of looks a little like that. I don't feel like it's a great insight, but it's true and it's good to know.
And it got a lot of response. That was interesting to me.
Yeah. Let's see. Could AI make a Scorsese movie?
That's so dumb. Only Scorsese can make a Scorsese movie.
Well, I was going to say, because AI is not Scorsese, so by definition, it would not be a Scorsese movie.
So Demis Hassabis and Darren Aronofsky, the director, join hands to make a movie. They met in 1999 when they were to give a speech on the future of storytelling. Hassabis was a video game developer. He's very smart gaming. He's a chess master. He's the CEO of DeepMind.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, he was a very good chess player. Aronofsky, of course, created Pi, Black Swan, The Whale. And now they're going to do together short narrative films using AI. 3 are already in the works. I don't think that's a Scorsese movie. They're too short.
What really strikes me is last week there was a story about advertising when Meta was throwing everything in advertising, creative and media, into AI. And in the meantime, the head of WPP stepped down. It wasn't because of that alone, but advertising is freaking. It is not difficult to imagine this stuff making a 30-second creative on a commercial that will be amazing.
They already have.
Certainly.
Last Christmas, Coca-Cola had an excellent ad that was fully AI generated. Because you had to be. It was polar bears and
right.
And it didn't. They didn't even try to hide that. It looked like it was done in AI.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to find it's got and the art, so to speak, the technology has advanced immensely since then.
Right.
What we saw out of I/O was amazing. So that's where the frontier is going to be, I think. And then advertising does lead the aesthetic culture in that way.
As does pornography, and we're seeing quite a bit of AI pornography.
Well, I'm not, Leo. Maybe you are, but I'm not.
No, I don't know
Jeff
where.
has never seen a pornography AI or otherwise in his life. He's
I don't know where
mind.
you'd go to get it. To be honest, I've tried. Actually, that raises an interesting question. If no human is involved,
it is an interesting question.
It's just created in the mind of a computer. Is it exploitation? No.
Well, it depends what you're talking about. I would argue pornography generally as an industry, if it's consenting adults, would not be considered exploitation. I think if you're talking about child sexual abuse material, it's still exploitative and probably not something that we should condone as a society to be created in any form, whether it be from a computer or
that's a good answer.
Otherwise.
Yeah, and actually, truth with adults, the problem with pornography is it dehumanizes sex anyway. And so now you've even more dehumanized it. And it's the wrong take on sex, right? And so it's kind of training people to think about sex.
There's debate about that. That's just like, does video game violence turn us all into murderers?
No.
Right, so I think there's a presumed cause and effect there. But Leo, it doesn't matter because in a deterministic world, you're already going to do what you're going to do. So it really doesn't matter.
That's true. We are just one big computer brain
we're
created
stochastic.
by rats. So.
I'm not saying we're not stochastic. We are stochastic.
So I'm a parrot, personally.
No, but by which I mean you don't know what's going to the next step is going to be in the
Because
logic.
it's too complex.
It's too complex and it's probabilistic, and maybe there are multiple steps and it's an even choice. I'm not saying you know what's going to happen next. I'm just saying what happens next comes out of what happened all the way up to that
But
point.
it's like my friend David Weinberger said, an accident is not an accident. It's something you couldn't explain.
True. Like magic.
I asked ChatGPT to make us into Star Wars characters, and I don't understand the references, but the image is pretty good. I put it in the chat. I
Is it in
recently
the,
upgraded.
is it in the Discord?
I did. I added you in the Discord. It's kind of
These
far
are
out
not.
right now.
This is this what you gave us?
No, I did not. It's let me see if I can at you again.
Pretty 5-4 cis guy did a version.
Yeah, he's very good, by the way, with this stuff. Oh, I like it.
Right?
I like it.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. So
I recently upgraded ChatGPT to try it out in the pro version, and I've honestly been finding it.
Did you spell
More
intelligent with
useful.
2 G's?
No, I did not. I just took a screenshot.
Intelligent.
It did. I took a screenshot of the show, and it had it spelled correctly in there. But
I
it
love
messed it up.
making images with ChatGPT. I gave it. I know I'm probably doing harm to the environment and the world. I told you about
It's
the
only
piano.
a third of a teaspoon.
Oh,
though.
that's
It's
right.
okay.
It's a 15th of a teaspoon. No big. I told you about the piano thing I did. Let me see if I can find the one I did. This was yesterday.
You should also go up to
I took a
pretty
I-
5-4 cis
This is
guy.
from a picture of a protest that we went to. And
Oh,
I
that's
thought,
cute.
yeah, I said, make that a cartoon. And then I said, and add a biplane. So that's invented.
nice.
Yeah, there's a few things that don't make a lot of sense, but it's, like defend oligarchs, grifters, Elon. That guy's definitely angry.
And that
I
pro
don't know what's
is that
coming out of the top
GOP
of his
sign
head.
like just GOP?
Yeah, I don't know what the GOP is either. None of those signs were in the actual picture I sent them, but
But they're
that's
all
okay.
the people look unhappy in the front line.
The people are angry, and they're all wearing sunglasses for some reason.
I like the guy who's just wearing a shirt that just says "Go."
Go.
Or does it say GOP?
Or yeah, I think they did something with GOP. I think this is why I kind of find AI fun. You never know what you're going to get. I took a picture out my kitchen window, and I said, "Make this a country scene in a cartoon," and it's exactly what the picture contained.
Bellingcat is going to figure out where you live based on that. So
Yeah, we might want to not include
I
that.
might want to check that out.
I
Yeah.
bet that would be an interesting challenge.
Don't challenge the internet, Leo. They
No,
1000% will know where you live. If you
Yes.
both show them that image and give them that challenge, you'll be doxxed immediately.
Yep.
I don't think so.
Don't play this game with them,
risk
Leo.
it. Yeah.
Don't play this game.
Anyway, so you're spending $20 on ChatGPT?
I spent it because I wanted to. I don't know. I felt like
It's your
we
job.
should try. It's
It's
my
your
job. I'd also just had some problems with using it, the free version, that I was like,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be any different. I will say, so far, some limited success. I was trying to. I've been reading a lot of like nonfiction books lately on various topics relating to like a job I'm interviewing for, and I was looking for suggestions of new books that I hadn't already found from like the past 3 years and related to these one or two very specific things. And so I paid for it and asked like whatever the deep research 4.5 for recommendations. And honestly, it recommended like the perfect book from within the past like 6 months. That
There's
I've now been
association it
listening
can
to.
do.
Yeah, because I was like, there should be a tool for me to easily check like all the boxes of categories of type of book plus the release year and then go through it myself on some website. But like Goodreads doesn't have that. Amazon doesn't have that. I don't know where to do it. So I was like, I'll ask ChatGPT, and it was quite useful.
By the way, I want to scream about Google for a minute, if I may, just because I need to.
Yes,
get it off my system.
we can balance it out with the
I
Apple
got a
and
bill.
Google screaming.
I just got my bill for the friggin' what do you call it? Work group thing. $62 a month.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because of AI. They said the excuse was because of AI. Well, I can't get to your AI thing you just released to everybody else in the world for free, and you're charging me for your friggin' AI. Google, what have you done? I ask you.
You should bring this up with the Chromebook
What have you
people
done?
when you meet them.
I want to bring it up with everybody.
Speaking of Google, YouTube has loosened the rules guiding moderation of videos. Hey, content
They've already
moderators,
done that,
we
yeah.
favor freedom of expression over the risk of harm. So go ahead, promote ivermectin. Who needs vaccines? Masks, they don't work. As long as the videos are considered to be in the public interest.
I mean,
Which
I have
means
noticed
social.
a lot of YouTubers self-censoring themselves certain words because
interesting.
because
Because they're-
YouTube pushes them down. Like if you say
Right.
suicide,
Like
or
what
if
words?
you say kill, or anything related to like that kind of stuff, they
Right.
push you, the algorithm.
Thanks
pushes
for
you
screwing up our downloads,
Sorry. Yeah, well, we got
Benito.
subs. We got subs.
Great. Now nobody will see the show. All right, we're going to take a little break. You're watching Intelligent Machines. Many of you watching live. I love it. Thank you to the folks, of course, in our Club Twit Discord who are watching in the Discord itself. Also, the general unwashed masses watching on YouTube and TikTok and X.com and Facebook and
My
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn
and Kick.
too.
Huh?
You
My
can
LinkedIn.
live stream on LinkedIn?
You live stream on LinkedIn, yeah. And Facebook. Hello, Gizmo.
Hello, Giz.
Gizmo, are you a generally unwashed mass? Yes, you are.
Gizmo
Washes
looks like a Star
herself.
Wars cat, I think.
Gizmo, did you hear that? You're a Star Wars cat.
Who wants
You're
to
gonna be getting
explain
residuals.
to Paris why she was wearing that big cat headdress?
Someone sent a GIF that I guess kind of says like some person who's got two lightsabers. I don't know. Don't come at me in the comments for my lack of knowledge about Star Wars.
I
guys.
think that's refreshing.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
just a refreshing person.
By the way, we are going to launch the Leo Laporte OnlyFans site any day now. So when I do porn, it's not dehumanizing. I just want to say.
OnlyFans isn't just for porn. You know, there are celebrities using that to monetize a lot of stuff.
No, in fact, I think it's right. I think that's the really interesting shift.
Guys, we
on
should be
OnlyFans.
streaming live on OnlyFans right
But don't, yeah, I feel like there is the assumption that if you're on OnlyFans, it is kind of adult, right?
I'm going to unbutton my button now.
Okay.
I was going to say, this is why Jeff isn't wearing a long sleeve shirt today.
Look, we
He's
can see
showing
his
elbows.
arms. Woo! How exciting. Our show today, and they are so sorry. Our show today brought to you by, I love this company, Spaceship. This is so cool. They are the modern way to get your domain name and to put your site up on the web. It takes the pain out of choosing, purchasing, and managing domain names and web products. And they have them all: shared hosting, virtual machines, business email. And I love this: below market prices for domain registrations and renewals. They also have some pretty fresh ways to deliver simplicity. I like Unbox. You can connect your Spaceship products to your domain and configuring it all in just a few steps. I wish my daughter had this. She was going, I have my domain name and I've got my Shopify, and how do I connect them? And oh my gosh, with Unbox, it's a click. In fact, I'm using Spaceship's new encrypted messaging platform, Thunderbolt, which is tied to my domain name. I registered a domain name for $4, leos.im at Spaceship. And then I pressed a button in Unbox and connected it to my messaging. And that's all I need. It's Paris, you should look into this. You don't have to give them your phone number. You don't have to give them a username, just a domain that you control. Very cool. And Unbox makes it super easy. And if, for instance, you're like my daughter and saying, help me, Dad, I could just say, go use Alf. Alf is their very own, Spaceship's very own AI assistant. Alf likes doing the stuff you don't like domain transfers and updating DNS records. The other thing I love about Spaceship, they're very open to your ideas. They love their customers, and they have a place where you can go to vote on new features and products. They call it Roadmap. You can explore their roadmap for the future, make suggestions, vote on new features. In fact, that's how Thunderbolt happened. The messaging came out of customers asking them for it. So customers in the tech community get what they really need. Visit spaceship.com/twit to discover exclusive deals on domains and more. Spaceship.com/twit. Spaceship.com/twit. Thank you, Spaceship. Spaceship.com/twit.
IAM doesn't stand for instant messaging, Leo.
It stands for what? Intelligent machines.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Leo's I am. I didn't even think of that.
Leo apostrophe S I am.
I think the IMTLD probably stands for country. Let me see here. It's the Isle of Man.
It stands for it's mine.
It's the Isle of Man.
I Leo, therefore I'm.
The Isle of Man. That's a metal TLD.
That's a metal TLD. Thank you very much. Dustin says it took him 30 seconds to get up and running on Thunderbolt. And the thing is, it's completely secure because it's only a domain that you control that can then be used as your messaging thing. And that domain can be anonymous. It doesn't have to say your name or anything. It can be anonymous. Like it could have scoops for Paris .im or something like that. Ooh. Let's see. What else?
What do we got here?
I know we've not
Daddy
run out of
Zuck is
stories.
paying 7 to 9 figures for new AI researchers to try and join Meta.
Really? Like a
Yes.
bonus?
No, he is personally
acquire.
trying to recruit and steal AI researchers and executives from other companies, and they're so
That's
editorialize
exactly
it,
what
desperate that
Jensen
they're
Huang
paying
Jensen Huang did, right?
anywhere from 7 figures to 9 figures of
well, 7
salaries.
figures is
And
in the
that's-
millions. 9 figures is in the 100 million.
hundreds of millions. And that's just cold hard cash, if I recall correctly. That's just that's
Man, I blew it in college. I studied Chinese. What was I thinking?
you're a fool.
I should have known I'd be a podcaster instead of a multimillionaire AI researcher. Hundreds of millions? Wow.
There's a New York Times article about it. That
This is for their superintelligence lab?
Yeah, I think this is as news has been coming out that they are, falling behind competitors.
But isn't it interesting because they own more H100 GPUs by like 3 times as many.
Now what are we going to do with them?
Yeah, they just bought them, and now we'll figure it out. 7 to 9 figure compensation packages.
Meta has recently grappled with internal management struggles over AI, as well as employee churn and several product releases that fell flat. So Mark Zuckerberg is personally joining the fray and trying to personally recruit people. I guess by just throwing them a lot of money.
As much as I hate Meta, and I will give you a reason to hate Meta too in just a second, I love it that they at least make Llama open weights.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? They're, we're number 2.
And that's Jan LeCun.
Oh, is it? You think it's his? He was the one who really.
He believes in that.
Good. All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear.
And it's also kind of an Android strategy too. We're not going to be OpenAI, but we can be the place.
This Meta team, Zuckerberg, this is from Bloomberg. Zuckerberg aims to hire around 50 people from the new team, including a new head of AI research, almost all of whom he's recruiting personally. He's rearranged desks at the company's Menlo Park headquarters, so the new staff will sit near him, the people said. That's crazy.
Sit near me and make $100 million. Now, how much would you pay? So Meta got caught big time breaking Android's privacy. Meta and Yandex, the Russian search engine, put code in their software to bypass all the cookie blocking, all the third-party tracking, all of the ways that you tried to say, don't spy on me, bro. This research, and Ars Technica has a story, refers to Android users and their web browsers, but there's reason to believe this would be for every mobile and even maybe desktop devices. If you're interested in the nitty-gritty, Steve Gibson covered it yesterday on Security Now. The covert tracking implemented in the Meta Pixel and the Yandex Metrica trackers allowed, and I put this past tense because as soon as this research came out, they turned it off immediately, like that minute. So that means they got some other way of doing it. Allows Meta and Yandex to bypass core security and privacy protections provided both by the Android operating system and the browsers that run on it. Defenses such as state partitioning and storage partitioning don't work. They opened up ports on your machine, established local host connections so your machines could exfiltrate information. It was really kind of awful what they did. It is fairly technical. Here's the graphic that explains it, but it was a very sophisticated technique. There would be no other reason to do this than to bypass your privacy protections and your security protections. There's no technical reason to do this otherwise. And the minute the research came out, both companies immediately turned it off without any response. Meta's response did not answer to our emailed questions, but provided the following statement. We're in discussions with Google to address a potential miscommunication regarding the application of their policies. Upon becoming aware of the concerns, we decided to pause the feature while we work with Google to resolve the issue. Yandex said, we're discontinuing the practice. In Russian, of course. Yandex strictly complies with data protection standards. It does not de-anonymize user data. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, but also kind of believable.
But totally believable. So on the one hand, while I appraise Meta for having open weights on Llama, they're not a good, nice company.
Win some, lose some.
They're not nice people.
No,
that llama will spit on your face.
They are not nice people. Okay, so they're trying to go for superintelligence. I hope they don't get it, because what are they going to do? Use it against us? This is the problem, by the way. I'm not worried about the AI. I'm worried about the people who make this.
Oh, that's
stuff.
that's right. I wrote a book about that. Exactly.
You're exactly right.
Yep.
Amazon is testing humanoid robots to deliver packages. Yeah.
Do we need the robots to be humanoid? Is that a useful component of it? Do they
Well,
need to look
apparently,
like funky
if you're
little
working
guys?
in a factory designed for humans, yeah, right?
I guess. Wait, but why? If the robots are delivering packages, why are they at the factory? Because that's not where you deliver, or the warehouse. That's not where you deliver packages.
They have an indoor obstacle course used for testing at an Amazon office in San Francisco. The report says it's about the size of a coffee shop. They hope this is what they want to do. They want to, they have those Rivian electric vans. You may not see them in New York, but we see them in town here.
Yep.
They drive around. They'll still have a driver, but when the driver pulls up, the robot will hop out.
Well, they were going to do that with drones. They
Right.
were going to do that out of a single van. Now they're going to do the robots instead.
Even with a human driver behind the wheel, a robot could theoretically speed up drop-off times by visiting one address while the human employee delivers to another. Oh.
I can see people tripping the robots.
Someone's going to shoot that robot with a gun, unfortunately.
I did see, and I don't know if it's true.
Are the robots good at fending off dog attacks? That's a thing with the
robot.
Amazon.
How about robot dogs?
Or porch pirates. They don't need to wait outside. They just need to mug the robot.
I did see this, and I'd love to see if I could validate it. But according to this video, 75% of Amazon orders in the warehouse are now fulfilled by robots. Here's what it looks like.
That's been the case for a while. This was a major shift they've rolled out, I feel like, over the last 5
So the
10
pickers
years,
are no longer humans, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
right?
and so you see these big racks that you're seeing behind here. This was a major pivot that Amazon
that's right. This was your
accomplished
beat
over the
for a
past
while.
7 years or so, just because it for a while, a lot of the complaints about Amazon worker treatment in particular were that the warehouses were giant and gargantuan. So in order to get something, you'd have to have a person walk all the way over that. So they invested, I believe they actually bought the company that makes those little floor robots. So how those big stacks move is it's like a huge stack on top of, you can see in the bottom of the video, little robots scooting along the floor. Those kind of all move in tandem and will, whenever a picker is standing basically at a station, whenever the next thing comes up, the robot will move that big stack over to them and say, oh, you need to grab whatever in quadrant 3C. So you go over 3 down and like down 3.
Well, I want to meet the robot from Amazon that when I ordered, this was at an Accenture talk, actually, for a Fortune talk. So I guess it's true. I want to meet the robot that when I ordered a synthesizer from Amazon, instead delivered a succulent planter.
Probably what it was is the synthesizer was in one of those cubbies and next to it was a succulent, and either they had the sort of thing that had a robot grab it or just the person grabbed the wrong one. I'm still in a lot of like Facebook groups and other employee groups for Amazon warehouse workers. Sometimes it'll show up on my Facebook feed. They're just kind of like social media groups, and it'll always be things like, whenever I guess people order sex toys from Amazon and don't realize that means a human being then has to look at a picture on a screen of your strange dragon dildo and then pick it from a cubby and put it in your box. But there's a lot of, so I assume
over and over again. After a while, it's just old hat.
Yeah.
After a while, they all the dildos blend together.
Blur together, exactly. That's hysterical.
Dildo on aisle 6.
Sorry, should I grab the succulent or the succulent?
I just thought it was funny that it was this big, heavy metal succulent.
How small
planter.
was the box that you got?
It was huge.
Oh, whoa.
And heavy.
Oh, is that when you ordered the cord?
So what? No.
I ordered synthesizer.
Yeah, it was a little one of those little Akai things. I wanted something that would be more portable that I could practice on and carry around. It was only $150. But I also ordered a baking steel, which was big and heavy. And they said they both came in the same box. Neither one came, just a succulent planter. And I'm trying to convince Amazon. I returned the succulent planter. They said, okay, well, we'll credit you for the steel. We won't credit you for the synthesizer. No, it was the same box. But it didn't get, anyway, I don't know. Probably a robot did it.
Google has a problem you wouldn't expect.
What's Google's problem?
Foxes.
Like what? Foxes?
On the roof of their new London headquarters.
Oh, London has a huge fox problem. Foxes are everywhere in that town.
What?
You'd think that
this is something I've learned. Like people, when I've had coworkers in London, they'll be like out in the garden taking a Zoom call and be like, "The foxes have arrived. I must move inside."
Are they
and I'm like, "What? I don't know." But foxes are like.
Well, they
London's
like to hunt them there. I guess they're just not very good at it.
Oh, that's what happened. They chased them into the city. Is what happened. All those fox hunters jumping over the hedges. They just chased them into town.
But I want to know, how did the foxes get on the roof of Google's new building, line 130?
Does it answer the question, or is this
I don't know. This is King's Cross. I can't figure it out. No, it's King's Cross. It's right next to the Guardian.
Foxes are everywhere. They could probably just climb up.
Foxes have begun to dig burrows. Oh, it's because they have a rooftop garden.
Well, but how do they get up there?
So they say this
elevator.
Is nice. This is nice. We take the elevator up. It's nice.
Ding.
Well, you can
They
see,
ask
Jeff,
politely.
the trees. They climb the trees, and then they leap from the trees to the headquarters. Those are beautiful foxes, by the way.
They are gorgeous.
I might be spreading misinformation, but I have a memory of like a big thing in London having to be, they had to design trash bins that were like fox proof. And it was like a difficult, like foxes are like a huge problem.
The oldest
smart little
cities in the
suckers.
world. And it's, so you could see why foxes might love this building.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. That's like
What
a
a
habit
view,
trail
too,
for
for
foxes with a view and everything. How did they get up there?
I don't know. That's what I want to know.
Maybe they walked up.
That's
Well,
right
it's kind
by
of
the
like,
Guardian.
I assume in the movie Fantastic Mr. Fox, they kind of just use zipline gear.
The rooftop garden has 40,000 tons of soil and 250 trees. They think that the foxes might be living off rats. So which would you rather have?
The foxes and the rats, exactly.
I would prefer the foxes. Yes.
Foxes are cute. Rats.
Until there's a rabid rat in all this.
Do you know that it's called a skulk of foxes?
I have a feeling foxes are kind of dangerous, though, right? Aren't they dangerous? Like wild
Only
foxes?
if they're rabid. I don't know.
This is wrong. You should not make a fox a pet. But for people who do, there's videos of them. They like giggle when you scratch them.
Foxes make the
I don't know
weirdest
whether I
sounds.
like
They don't
that
make
or
sounds
not,
that are
actually.
like, yeah.
Yeah, there was that song. What sound
Can
does
you
the
give me
fox
your
make?
impression of a fox?
I
sound?
wonder what the fox
Do you remember the sound?
What does the
I can't.
fox say? Yeah.
I'll
Leo's
play
gonna
you
find
a
it.
fox sound.
No,
This is-
from your mouth, Leo. I want you to try and give us some Foley work here.
I
It's
hear
kind of a
this at
land
night
flipper.
in our neighborhood. I hear that. That's a fox.
Oh,
Which is what?
you don't have a. We're not hearing it. You got to turn on original.
Oh, I have to press the button.
We didn't
Wait.
hear your piano before, actually. That's
Oh,
what
you
we were
didn't?
hearing.
No, we did not.
you just heard
That's
my
why
singing?
that's why I was singing
You were
because I was like,
singing.
"What is Leo?"
Oh,
I thought you were just I thought you were just doing a piano.
Yeah, I
bit.
thought you were mocking yourself.
No, all right. All right. Now I have to play the piano for you guys again. If I had my $140 Akai synthesizer, I wouldn't have to fake it. I'm gonna.
Where are the foxes?
Did you hear the foxes? I
No.
turned to the.
No, it just sounded.
No, that's not a fox.
That's
This
not
is-
a fox.
No,
This is a fox. Ready? Actually, that
that's
sounds like
the waves.
that's a fox.
That sounds like a
somebody's
dog being
murdered.
attacked.
I know. That's their
No, I'm gonna
normal
give you-
sound.
no,
They
wait,
sound like
wait,
somebody's
wait.
dying.
No, this is better. I'm putting this in the chat right now. This is what I'm talking about. Hold on. Here we go.
Better than that.
These are like pet. Oh yeah.
Pet foxes.
Giggling fox. Yes,
It's a. Oh God,
they're cute little suckers.
What have we done? Oh wait a minute, I still have the other fox. This is 11 Labs you just sent me.
No, I didn't. I sent you giggling foxes. Well, how the hell did that happen? No, there it is. Yeah, okay. Here.
Wait a minute, I got the other foxes up, and I got to close the other foxes. Okay, giggling foxes, get ready.
If you need a laugh, boy, do we have one for you.
The 9 News is going to take us down. They have the copyright on the foxes. Oh
Just
my
45
God.
seconds of fox sounds
Pretty-
from various devices.
Pretty much what's happened. Thanks.
And I love it on the page. Related topics: female fox laughing, baby fox laughing GIF. It's like fox porn. See the laughing.
Well, now we could put
20th
this on
century
OnlyFox.
Fox. All right, I am going to play for you the actual song. Now you can hear it. This is Cockles and Mussels. No, that's foxes. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
Yes,
That's me.
this is good.
How much
Better
you
than I
paying
could
for the
do.
lessons?
A lot. A lot.
Enough that they gave him a bust.
You want to hear the one I'm learning right now?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's fun, right? A little bluesy. Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. It's a pastime. I'm never gonna, be on the stage. But
You want us to disagree with you?
no. I know the truth. I'm not a fantasist. I'm not Sam Altman. I don't think AI is going to suddenly teach me how to play piano perfectly. You are watching Intelligent Machines. If you are watching not in the club right now, I want to urge you
Shame
to
on you.
consider
You
a
fool
club
you.
What are you
membership.
doing?
Now, here's the reason the club exists. There was a reason. 4 years ago, you might remember there was this thing called COVID. Advertising kind of dropped off. And we thought, we are in trouble. We need to survive. We did. We survived. Here's a picture of me playing the piano. I got to put that in my Obsidian. Well, the way we survived was we went to you, our audience, and we said, can you help us out? We passed the hat. But it's become more than that. 4 years later, we're thrilled. 5 years? Is it 5 years? Wow. Well, no, 5 years for COVID, but 4 years for the club. It is taken off beyond our wildest dreams, which is fantastic. because now you're covering 25% of our operating costs. And that's good because advertising is only covering 75%. So because of you and your support in the club, we can now continue to do our mission and make shows and make new shows. And we would really like you. This is, by the way, an example of the kind of stuff you get in Club Twit. This is in the Club Twit Discord. What do you get for $10 a month? Ad-free versions of every show we do, including special shows only in the club. All the keynotes, for instance, from last week, the Microsoft Build, the Google I/O, this week's WWDC keynote, all of those were in the club only, and you can still get them on the Twit Plus feed. Stacy's Book Club. Chris Marquardt's coming up on Friday. We're going to do our photo show. We do that every month, and more. Lots of stuff like that. The Untitled Linux Show, Home Theater Geeks. We do it in the club. And that's kind of our thank you, our way of saying thank you for supporting what we do. We really appreciate it. If you're not a club member, I would love you to be in the club so we can chat in Discord and you get all those benefits. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And I thank you so much, all the club members, for your support. It's really been amazing. We appreciate it. I'm looking. So you notice I got a new clock.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I'm really happy about this thing. This is from a company called Mitzela, MITxela.com, I think. He's actually a YouTuber. MITxela, yeah, Mitzela. So he does projects and kind of fun projects. The most recent being, you see quite a few of them, but the most recent being this clock. It's the Precision Clock Mach 4. And I saw the YouTube video and I said, this is the coolest thing ever. This uses GPS to set the time, so it is absolutely accurate down to the millisecond. I didn't tell it where I was.
That's good because you always start this show exactly on time.
Yeah.
People, for some reason, want a clock, and I think it's their timing something, or I don't know what it is. Anyway, so we get the date and time for this. It's kind of cool. It stretches out. So it's like a clapper, like on the movie.
Oh.
So
cool.
I can make it long.
Oh, that's
fold
fun.
it over. He did some really cool things. There's an ambient light sensor. The GPS, if it can't get a signal, as the time gets less accurate, will show fewer and fewer, tenths or hundredths or thousandths of a second. But right now it's got a lock, so it's showing thousandths of a second. I thought it was really cool. Anyway, if you see this and want one, MITxela.com. But
this website has some cool stuff, such as LED industrial piercing earrings.
Oh, yeah. Well, you should go out and get them, or maybe get this Euro rack knob. I don't know what that's
for me.
That's for Benito.
There's something
It's
for everyone
synthesizer
on your
knobs.
podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Motorized camera. Oh, that'd be good. I should get that. Oh, is this what you want, Paris?
Yeah.
The industrial light piercing?
That seems cool. Lights
The
in your
world's
ears.
smallest MIDI synthesizer.
I like that there's a UV protection amulet, a magical pendant that warns you about ultraviolet radiation.
Yeah, this guy's so cool. Anyway, he shipped it out right away. He's in the UK. I was very grateful, and so I want to give him a little plug.
What was the tariff on that?
There was no tariff.
Oh.
I don't know how he did that magically. Anyway, so I don't have the clock above me. Now I just have like that's a sound, it's hearing me talk. A little sound thing.
Spectrum analyzer.
Spectrum analyzer. Thank you. But I want to put like club membership numbers in there or something like that. In fact, what I was really thinking is when you join the club, you could send me a text string to put in there briefly. So every time we get a new member, we get a new
It's
message.
like the brick.
Like a digital
Or like-
brick.
Yeah. Or like if
Exactly.
somebody does like a super chat in one of the things, it like pops
Yes.
up on there.
Yeah, it's kind of a twitchy kind of thing to do. So that's the plan. We're thinking maybe of doing that. That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be fun.
Got to write some code. But, I have a little AI friend who's pretty good at that. All right, you guys pick something. We've done a lot of these stories. 23andMe is being sued to not sell the genetic information, as meanwhile, The purchase price is going up. A company called
Ann
Regeneron. Pardon me?
And Wojcicki has stepped back in.
She says 256 million is not enough.
She's made a bid of 305.
She's bid 305 million. She wants to buy it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It dwarfs her previous offer to acquire the company for 40 million just ahead of the March bankruptcy filing.
Jesus.
So they're pausing the sale process. Regeneron, we thought, was going to get it. This is a pharma research company, and they, I guess, wanted the data.
If they want it still, they've got to bid
drugs.
10 million more.
Wow. Yeah, because the bankruptcy court will sell it to the highest bidder. Regeneron gets the last look. Losing bidder gets a $10 million breakup fee. So maybe she's just going for the $10 million.
It's a little risky, but yeah.
It's weird to... it's interesting.
I mean, her involvement in this whole process has been very odd.
Yeah.
This was also the case where basically the entire board resigned, if I'm recalling correctly,
right.
due to her how she was handling the sale and potential bankruptcy process.
Okay, well, we'll watch with interest. I have already deleted my data.
23andMe?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff, did you do that?
My whole family did it.
Oh, yeah.
Did you delete your data?
No.
You're just cool with whatever pharma company having it?
What are they going to do, clone me?
They can't. That's not enough.
What are they going to do? Clone me? Says the man who has
If
17
they would,
clones.
I'd be
crawling out.
pleased. I'd be
They will
good.
charge more insurance to all of your descendants.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I
insurance
had this
companies-
discussion with Esther Dyson once when she did her genome, and I said, Esther, my son's the fact that I had prostate cancer and my descendants are. She said, get over it, Jeff. Everybody gets it. Gosh.
She very famously gave her entire genome to George Church's project, the personal genome project. I tried to. I
And
said,
they were
"I'll
like,
pay
we
them."
don't want this.
We don't want
Rejected
him.
They rejected me. But then George now has a commercial version of that, which I did sign up for, and I got.
You were like, I want to give it to where someone could make as much money as they want from my genome.
Why not? Yeah. No, the prices come down dramatically. I think what is the personal genome project? When Esther did it, I think it was like $10,000. It was around $1,000 to do it with. What was the name of it? I can't remember now. George Church.
Sequencing would cost $1,000?
Yeah. So what 23andMe did for only a couple of $100 was a partial sequence. And then the results it wasn't what kind of they implied, like you're getting your whole genome. But what Church is doing with Nebula Genomics, that's the name of it, is they scan the whole thing and you can download it. And by the way, it's a lot of data. It's gigabytes of data. And then you can send it off there are a lot of companies around that if you give them your genome, will say, okay, you have markers for this cancer or this, health condition or brown hair or whatever it is. A lot of biome companies and stuff. So this is, I did this one. Now I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's more complete than what I got from 23andMe. I interviewed George a couple of years ago in Triangulation. That's what started the whole thing. It's kind of interesting. All right. I think we could go to the picks of the week, don't you? Do I need another break, Benito? I haven't been keeping track.
No, we're good.
We're good. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Paris Martineau and her pick of the week. And if it's foxes...
Well, first, my pre-pick is last week I told people to leave a 5-star review on our podcast.
Oh, how's that going?
Your favorite thing. If you have a comment that would be fun to read in the show. And people did leave some good ones, I thought. One of my favorites was by PJA in SC 4 days ago. The review says, got the bug. This is the only podcast bold enough to review the 1975 movie Bug. I saw this as a double feature with Phase 4. Bug is only surpassed by the killer cockroach scene of 1977's Damnation Alley. Thank you. Even though technically the movie I referred to was the 1978 movie The Nest, I did see a different cockroach movie called Bug this week, and it was not as good as The Nest, but still a good roach bug.
You
movie.
made him an honest reviewer. We have now reviewed both Nest and Bug.
And on a similar note, someone wrote, entertaining and educational. Really enjoyed the show. I learned a lot about AI at an understandable level. 3 hosts are smart, witty, as they banter over sometimes very silly topics. Love the picks of the week. Well, maybe except the Roaches and Rat movie series. Your opinion is noted, but I do not value it, to be honest. Those are my highlights from that.
So more next week, please.
Yeah, I will.
Yes, go to your favorite podcast client, review us and rate us. Give us a good one.
5 stars. We got to get our rating up. We've had some weird review bombing over the years that's brought it down. This should be a closer to 5 stars podcast. So get out there. If they're funny, we'll read them on the show. Or interesting or something. My pick of the week is I saw The Phoenician Scheme, which we had watched the trailer for on this show at some point. I saw that last night. Good movie. Would recommend it if you're a Wes Anderson fan. It was fun.
Oh, that's the new Wes Anderson. Yeah.
It was, I would just say it was like fun. It was delightful. It was like just a very funny movie, actually, which I think like is
Are you
fun.
A Wes Anderson, like whatever he does, I love it fan or?
Well, no, I watch everything he does, but I don't always like I hated The French Dispatch to be honest.
I thought this was going to be a lot like that one.
No, this one looks like a Looney Tunes. This is like he's just doing
this
Looney
one
Tunes.
is. It's like it's a globe-trotting criminal business mastermind who keeps getting. People keep trying to assassinate him, and so he keeps getting caught in near-death experiences like plane crashes or being shot in the chest or things like that. Meanwhile, he's trying to connect with his daughter, Liesel, who
so is
trying
it
to
kind
be
of slapstick?
A little bit. It's slapstick in a Wes Anderson way. Michael Cera is in it as well and really does a great job.
Yeah, that's why I say Looney Tunes. Like, this is kind of a Looney Tunes kind of movie. Like, the comedy is kind of Looney Tunes-ish.
I love the Royal Tenenbaums. I love Fantastic Mr. Fox.
So the movie also kind of explores a relationship between a absent father and his daughter. And I think the themes, if we're extrapolating, are like about faith and legacy in the sense that it did remind me tonally of... what movie did you just say? Tenenbaums.
They're all
it
like,
reminded me of Tenenbaums.
I love the Tenenbaums.
All of his films.
Just in the sense that it's a patriarchal relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
My other pick is, I just remembered this when someone mentioned TikTok earlier. I saw this really cool TikTok of a woman who's somehow used code to make like her hands in videos control the vocal production and like production of songs, and it's all these cool videos of like if you play it, like her doing different hand gestures like creates whatever is like it controls like a MIDI board in a really
She's got a
way.
Python program called MIDI Cam that is a camera watching what she's doing. Here, let me play this.
It's her own song, so we shouldn't
You
get
could do this
down.
instead of the piano.
And like each hand gesture creates something else going on in the thing. And she has a bunch of other videos of how it works. I just thought it was very interesting. And I don't know, someone who's more technically inclined than me could probably explain how it's
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty simple.
was very
it's a little gimmicky, in my opinion. These can just be pedals.
Yeah.
And should just be
or
pedals.
buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. But it's neat.
It's neat.
Yeah. It's
Just reminded me of the show
TikTok.
this week.
Yeah.
Those are my
Using
picks.
technology.
Jeff, what's your stuff?
Well, I could do a rant about my favorite topic, the death of mass media, but I thought I would ask, unless you talked about this last week. Did you talk about Mountainhead?
I don't know if we talked about it on this show. Did we, Paris? I don't think we did.
I don't think so. What did you think of it, Jeff?
I liked it a lot.
Okay.
I think it was. It had its weak moments. Sitting there talking.
Let's
to
explain.
South
This
American
is
people.
This is a movie. Is it on Netflix? I can't remember. Right?
HBO.
HBO.
Now HBO Max. That's not confusing enough. Starring Steve Carell, written by the guy who did Succession, Jesse Armstrong. It's 4 of the richest men in the world. Well, 3 of the richest men in the world and one guy who only has a few hundred million. in a where are they? They're in
Utah.
yeah, they're in
Moab.
Park City
They're in
or
Moab or
near
something.
Likely
there.
place for multimillionaires
in
to be.
a big house, and the world is falling apart.
Thanks
Literally.
to one of them.
Thanks to the guy who owns Tram, TRAAM, who is the richest man in the world, worth several $100 billion. He has created, it's basically Facebook. He has created a AI image generator that's so realistic that people are believing it, and it's causing huge religious strife, civil wars, killings. It's a mess. And they're up there in their mountain area watching the news, and it gets kind of crazy. It's funny, it stayed with me more than I thought it would. I thought it was very wordy. It was just a lot of, they shot it in a couple of months.
Yeah, from what I haven't seen it because I feel like a lot of my film friends are like said it seemed like it was definitely a product of a incredibly tight production schedule with what was kind of first thought, best thought. But I do agree that it seems like the sort of thing I would like.
There's
Yeah,
a
I think you should watch it.
lot of jargon in it from the stuff we talk about.
Well, it makes me very happy because they skewer long-termism and transhumanism.
Exactly. Yeah, you see all the stuff that we talk about. Somebody in the chat room, Brandroid, says the primary flaw was that all the main characters are terrible, terrible people. I would agree with it, except that was true of Succession as well. There were no heroes in Succession, and you still kind of you still were kind of in there rooting for him. You're right, though. There was nobody to root for in this. They were.
But that was the whole point. Yeah.
At one point, I don't know. Should I have any spoilers? Maybe I'll leave the spoilers out. It gets very dark.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. I didn't like it after I finished it, and then I've been thinking more about it. I think maybe I liked it in an abstract way.
I'm going to spoil one line because I just loved it so much. Screaming, I take Kant very seriously.
Yes. Steve Carell
Okay,
plays
actually, I
a
do.
pompous, he
I
plays
gotta see
the
that.
older, he's basically Peter Thiel. or maybe Paul Graham.
Yeah.
He's an older VC who's kind of funded all of these guys, the other three guys, and he's the wise one, the former professor, who apparently loves to quote Kant and Nietzsche. And it's very that part's very funny. It's very pretentious, very pompous.
Yeah.
And they're constantly saying first principles. The more I think about it, the more I like it.
Yeah, I'll be curious, Paris. So even while that is made, and even though while we have a little bit of kind of mass media left, there's just a bunch of things here. So Warner Brothers is going to split off. Warner Brothers Discovery is going to split off its cable companies as Comcast, Universal, NBC.
It's kind of letting the lifeboats go.
Cable has cooties
as the ship sinks.
It's cable cooties.
Yeah,
anything live.
They're keeping the movie studios, but they're getting rid of all the cable stuff. Yeah,
right. And then, interestingly, The Guardian says that user-generated material will eclipse the ad revenue attracted by professional media from TV networks, cinemas, and news companies very soon.
Any day now, the creator apocalypse.
Yep.
Well, as we're in that creator space, kind of old school version of that creator space. I just saw a study that said podcasting is taking off. Which kind of cracks me
Wait
up.
for me. I've been here.
Where are you going? Did you
for this
see
flight for a long time?
I can't remember if it was Netflix. I think it was Netflix as a biography documentary of the Call Her Daddy, Alex Cooper host.
Oh, wow,
so that's yeah. The big. It's interesting how podcasting has changed since we started way back.
Content creators are expected to see their revenue through ads, brand deals, and sponsorships increase by 20% this year, according to assessment by WPP. Yep.
I'll be honest. The problem is it's not us. It's influencers.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of creators, but influencers.
It's going to all the people on Love Island USA right now.
Well, it's also, my son is benefiting from this. He's an influencer.
When's his sandwich shop opening?
Saturday.
That's the latest.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Leo, are you coming?
No, Leo,
you've got to give Jeff his Switch.
He doesn't, oh, that's true. I do have the Switch for you. He doesn't I think, want me there. His mom talked him into letting her come out because she said, well, somebody has to be there. But he doesn't want to focus on us. He wants to focus on his thing, what he's doing and all that. So I'll go out next month.
That's what I'm saying. And we're going to do a festival, right?
We'll go. Yes, we'll go. We'll have fun there. Yeah. But I wanted to give him a chance.
What's it called again?
That's right.
Salt Hanks.
Salt Hanks.
Okay, well, I'll be there.
On Bleecker
Saturday.
Street next to John's in the beautiful West Village.
Oh,
you
very
could
cool.
walk there practically. You take the subway and walk the rest of the way.
Well,
I mean,
you can do that all over New York.
Yeah,
yes.
it's
It's amazing
I love
what we
New
have.
York. I miss New York. Yeah. He doesn't. I think it's normal. He doesn't want to have to worry about us. He just wants to have fun and pay attention to what he's doing.
And opening a restaurant is hard
is
enough.
high stress.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it could be hard to
He doesn't want to
not
take care of
focus
his
on your
Let's go to salthanks.com and at least give him a good plug. Grand opening. Doors open May 31st. 280
incorrect.
Bleecker.
Yeah, they still say May 31st. Yeah, because he had a soft opening last weekend, but he decided not to open right away. So because they still had some stuff to do.
I just
so it's
signed up.
Saturday. Good. Drop your email as
Is
the
there a
kids
menu?
say. Yeah, see that sandwich?
What should I get?
Get that sandwich. I said, would you name a sandwich after me? He said, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there will be. Maybe there won't be. I don't know.
If he's there, should I tell him that I do a podcast with his dad?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, no. Say...
Or will he be embarrassed?
Say no. Say, hey, it's Paris. I do Intelligent Machines, formerly This Week in Google on Twit.
You've met
Have
him.
you ever heard
You've
of
met him,
Twit?
Paris. Haven't you met him before?
Yeah, she's met him. Yeah, he's been on the show.
He was on.
No, he didn't
No, he
come on
wasn't
our
here.
show.
I wasn't here.
Oh, he was
the
on
day
Twit,
was
right?
here.
He was on Twit.
He was on Twitter.
Or he was, I think, on this show, but when I
was.
was like on vacation or something. I haven't.
So we're going to go in and tell him how hurt we are that he didn't come on our show.
Mm-hmm.
Hank. Well, go. Yeah, I'd be very curious if you have a sandwich. He's. It's been fun if you watch his vlog on Instagram, salt_Hank. He's been showing how he chose the breads. And where
he's got
going to
some
get the
good.
meat.
He's got a great bread that he just cracked for the.
That
opening.
bread looks so good. It's one of the reasons I can't go. I shouldn't go.
You're going to poison your dad.
They just did a festival where they sold thousands of sandwiches at the look at and the thing is his sandwiches.
I did hear about this festival. Yeah.
Yes, chef. Yeah, his sandwiches are juicy as heck. They're just messy. So that's why his cookbook's called a 5-napkin situation. Let me see if there's anything else.
So what would your sandwich be, Leo?
Well, I told him that I really like Reubens. So maybe he'll do a Reuben for me.
I love Reubens.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got an industrial onion slicer.
Oh God, does he have an industrial? Oh my God, because a lot of what they do is pickles, right? Pickled stuff. So
Whoa.
yeah, it's gonna be.
What's it like being? How is he handling restaurant ownership so far?
I think he's fairly stressed. It's stressful.
Tracks,
He's the new bear.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to do. This is the restaurant. This is why it's not open yet. They're still kind of working on it. Although I think this was a little while ago. He's gonna. So that's like the bar where you go up to buy your sandwiches, and the kitchen's in the back. But he's going to be making sandwiches there in the window, so the people who are in line to John's Pizzeria will see him, and one hopes come in. Don't name the ziti sandwich after me. Harry. That's all I ask. Look at that rack of line.
My dad, the ziti.
My dad loves his ziti. Anyway, yeah, I'm very proud of him, and he's all the ad deals are going that way. He's got deals. Wow, I mean the amount of it's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, all the stuff that we would love to get is going to him. But I got to say, this show, thanks to the new focus, has, as you may have noticed, really picked up in both audience and ad revenue. So I'm very pleased with that.
Yay.
We get a lot of the B2B stuff. And for this show, we get a lot of the AI companies. So I think we're going to make it.
Yay.
And thanks to the club. I got to tell you, the club is amazing. Really
Bless
great.
you all.
Yeah, thank you all. We appreciate all your help. Ladies and
Should we
gentlemen.
let's all do a thanks for the club. Leo?
Thank you, Club.
Thank you,
I
Club.
won't play the piano ever again if you join.
I'll only eat loud, crunchy sandwiches into the mic.
Oh, man. So that's from Frenchette. Mr. Met, who is obviously a New Yorker, says the Frenchette is fantastic. We go there a lot for the food as well as the bread. Yeah, I hope Henry will become a regular stop for people.
I'll check it out,
yeah.
and I'll bring my influencer system.
I might go, you know what, next Tuesday when I go in for
Stop by.
the Chromebook, yeah.
Yeah. Where's the Chromebook event?
Let me know
gonna
when
be?
you're in. We can hit it up.
Ooh.
So Google New York? Is it a big deal event or is it just
No,
you?
it's no, it's not just me, but I had to sign up.
Now I want a sandwich.
Yeah.
I know, I'm starving.
I also, Leo, you have to come for the American Burger Place. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
All right.
it's amazing.
And give us a report when it's Tuesday. So next week, report on the Chromebook event from Jeff Jarvis.
we'll do.
That'll be good.
Will do.
Who is our guest next week? I should ask.
Oh, this is my friend Matthew Kirschenbaum.
Great. Tell me about him. Well, he wrote that
Matthew-
incredible book, Track Changes.
Track Changes,
Which is about word
He's writing a
processors.
book about the textpocalypse. He's on the Modern Language Association Task Force for AI in the Classroom, and just announced, he was just appointed to he's at University of Maryland now. Next January, he will have a chair in AI and English at University of Virginia.
Nice.
That's
So
great.
he's really brilliant. He is a friend and a mentor of me, and really amazing. He also runs a book lab where he teaches students how to make old-fashioned print.
I love this picture of him with all these old computers, the old Macintosh, the Apple II. Look at that. That's awesome.
He sent me some topics I'll send to both of you that he can talk about because I talked to him. And he's a wonderful guy and brilliant. And I think we'll have fun.
Good. Matthew Kirschenbaum next week on Intelligent Machines. Don't you dare miss it. We do the show every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. You can watch us live if you choose. As I mentioned, on all those platforms, Discord, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, and Kick. But the easiest way to watch is after the fact. Go to our website, twit.tv/IM. There's a YouTube. You'll find a link there to the YouTube channel. It's a great place to see the video, but also to clip the video if there's something in particular you saw you'd like to share. And, of course, subscribing in your favorite podcast player might be the best way. Leave a funny review. 5 stars, please, so that Paris can read it next week on the show. Thank you so much for being here. Paris Martineau. I don't know
I'll
what
be
to
out
say.
there reading the reviews.
She's
I'm a
the
tech
greatest.
journalist. I'm here.
She's an investigative
She is
reporter.
indeed.
Give her a scoop. Let her yell at the CEOs in your life.
Let me
Let her
eat a large
dig.
scoop of ice cream.
Paris.nyc and, of course, Jeff Jarvis. I'm not
'Cause you
gonna
can't
go
get
through
rid of
the
him.
whole thing. The Emeritus Professor of Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism in the City of
Wow, we're eating. We're feasting tonight.
Twice.
and the author
times.
of the Gutenberg parenthesis now in softcover. What would Google do? Long time ago. The Web We Weave, which is a really great read about how we got here and what we should be doing going forward. And, of course, Magazine about his history and the history of the magazine.
Soon to be an audiobook.
Yes, with a special announcement by Paris at the beginning.
It's true. And the end.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on Intelligent Machines. Bye-bye.